with your boy, the legend, the up and rising, evolving streamer, YouTube juice, the juice. Let's get started, shall we?
What it do, guys? It's your boy YouTube Juice. Had to dive back in, had to chime back in. You know, we got to keep this thing alive, man. We got to keep that public awareness out there. Nothing's changed. We haven't had any updates. I did have some exciting things to kind of talk about, though. I thought Ashley Banfield had a really good point today as far as the bite light that was saw in the mouth of the suspect that we saw in front of Nancy's home. So I have a very good theory in mind in regards to that and a few other things as well. I think I believe what a lot of people are starting to believe, and that is that something's going to happen pretty soon. And that's only because of the DNA results. You know, I'm starting to kind of feel good about that, just kind of thinking that through. Just because of the simple fact that the DNA they said that they found wasn't related to anyone in the family. Sounded to me like that was leaning in the direction of the person that it was at Nancy's home that night. So sounds good. It sounds good, but you know, I think that's a good way to have hope. Not only that, we got 40,000 leads, and well, many more now. They said they're getting about, I want to say thousands, still per day. I don't know what we got as of today, but I think we're continuing to get leads. So hopefully something will stumble up and we'll have great, exciting news for this investigation. Today is 32 days that this investigation's been going on since not the investigation, since Nancy's gone missing. The investigation got off to a rocky start, as we all know. But investigators suspect that Nancy was abducted February 1st, just to kind of recap that for those that are maybe barely getting into the story. The family made repeated public pleas for her safe return and asked for the proof that she's, still alive. Because we all know there was a ransom demand for money, and the family just wanted proof of life before sending the money. And the person that sent out the ransom wanted the money in Bitcoin. We all know the investigators are still shifting through 40,000 leads, and God knows how long that's going to take. At one point, officials released a doorbell camera video and images showing a masked man and armed suspect on Guthrie's doorstep the night she disappeared. That footage showed that suspect, and FBI said appears to be a male, 5'9", 5'10", covering up the camera lens with the shrub plants we saw. So much has happened. At one point, we tried to figure out, what clothes he had on, all the way down to the bag and the shoes. I think a lot of us figured that out. I think a lot of us are still confused on that picture we saw, though, after finding out that the suspect visited the home on one other separate occasion. So much has happened. We got a video recently with the one of 12 cars in a video that we figured out that may have been a Kia Soul. However, that's still not determined yet. So we're still awaiting the results on that. I don't even know if we're sure investigators are really even still looking into that, because I did over here, they weren't even gonna really pay much mind to that video. But last time I checked, they were in tuned and trying to figure out if Nancy may have been in that Kia Soul in that video that we saw. Although I did see a Honda CRV. No one's keeping that in mind or talking about that. Maybe because of the time. Because at the moment in time I saw the CRV in that video, it was, I want to say, about 5 a.m. So no one's paid any mind to that at all, though. So I guess we'll just kind of ignore that and move on. I did have some exciting, interesting news that happened. I think this was yesterday. Well, it might make you upset, so you might not want to see this, but I thought I would share this for those of y'all, you know, just to give us something to watch, because there hasn't really been much happening with the case as of right now. There is, but we haven't had any updates from the sheriff nor the FBI, so I think we're just kind of awaiting that. But I did have an interesting video to share. I think this one might make some people upset. It made me pretty upset. And I'm sure some of you have probably seen this video, so let me get this video out the way and play this real quick, because I thought it was really interesting. We had a girl show up in front of Nancy's, pretty much half naked, and I think she chose this place because, let's just play the video first. So I believe this girl's name is
a photo
Kiki.
shoot at Nancy's house while her family begs for her return? Hi guys, welcome back. Sonora case reveal. You won't believe this. Day 30, Nancy Guthrie missing, and now backlash over a photo shoot by someone called Kiki right at the crime scene. Is it total disrespect or what? People are furious, online exploding, and stay with me. We'll unpack it from start to end. You can't look away. First, the outrage. Kiki poses, smiling, near Nancy's home. The spot where masked intruder struck, blood on porch, pacemaker silent, family in agony, Savannah pleading, on video. Bring her home, we need her. But Kiki shoots photos, casual, happy, ex-users erupt. This is sick, one says. Disgusting, Nancy vanished 30 days ago, and you're posing there? Another replies, attention seeker, pure hashtags rage. Nancy Guthrie, backlash, disrespect, over 500,000 views on threads, hundreds like, dozens reply. Debate heats, defenders say, free speech, public spot. But critics think of pain. Savannah's tears. We know she may be gone. Family laid flowers, memorial. Don't stop praying what we feel love. But this? Salt on wound. Who is Kiki? Influencer, model, details scarce. But location? Clear. Catalina foothills. Nancy's quiet home. Crime tape gone. Memory fresh. Neighbors upset. One tells media, insensitive. We're searching. Still. Volunteers out. Deserts, tunnels. No sign. Yet. Quick recap. Nancy, 84. Savannah's mom, January 31st. Dinner with family. Home by 9:45, 1:47 a.m. Camera removed, masked figure, gloves, weapon, backpack, 25 liters, hiking style. Prepared, not random. 2:28 a.m. Pacemaker off. 41 minutes. Changed all. Blood on porch. DNA hers. Donut drops. Face injury. Struggle. Ransom notes. To TMZ. 6 million Bitcoin. No reply way. Deadlines pass. Silence. No proof. She's alive. Family pleads. Social media. Savannah begs. Someone knows. Come forward. Day 30. Sheriff Nanos. We're closer. To suspects. DNA glove. House traces. Familial search. Match coming. Reward 1 million. Tip line 1-800-CALL FBI. Call now if you know. Now back to Kiki. Photo shoot sparks. Why there? Of all places. Attention or clueless? X thread blows up. One user, report her. Authorities, another, boycott. Her work, family silent. On this, focused on hope. Savannah back, on air, emotional. Thanks supporters, but pain shows. Experts say Targeted crime. Tracy Walder, FBI CIA vet, not random. Planned. John Miller, CNN analyst. Blood key. Plan shifted. Cover up, perhaps? No life proof. Why? Maybe none. To give. Tying in cars. This is the car no.
So, this girl, I guess, supposedly, I don't know why the other stuff he added in there for whatever reason, but it was a nice little recap. This girl showed up half naked. I don't know much about her. I haven't really found much on her. I tried to look. I didn't really spend much time looking around, but for whatever reason, I guess she just picked this place maybe because she figured it would be a good moment to go viral, opening up her new channel, I guess, supposedly. I don't even want to say her name because we're just really pretty much giving her more clout at this point. But I thought it was interesting, the fact that she chose Nancy's house, and beyond disrespectful. It really made me mad, I ain't gonna lie. If I was there, I probably would have ruined their video on purpose, I'm not gonna lie. But I don't even know who was there. I don't even know if JLR got this. I don't even know. I have no idea. But again, like I said, I guess she's launching a new channel, a new crime channel. Maybe this is a half-naked crime channel. I have no idea, but that's just not a presentable way to dress if you're, getting ready to talk about some crime. I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's highly suspicious and just super, super disrespectful, pertaining to actually what's going on. I don't know what that girl was thinking. I really don't. Don't know who that is. Never seen her in my life. I don't even know if she's from here. I feel like these people just drove out here from God knows where and decided to do it in front of Nancy for whatever reason. They, for whatever reason, thought it was a very, very good idea. But I feel like she's getting a whole lot of backlash from it either way. So hopefully she's getting what she deserves at this point. Big welcomes, by the way, in the chat. Handsome, big welcomes. Lil Annie, welcome back, guys. Catherine, welcome. Free audio. What's good, bro? No PUBG Mobile tonight, man. No PUBG. I'll be back in tune on pub, though. JLR was there. Big welcomes, Jenny, by the way. JLR actually talked to her? Wow. Was this yesterday that the guy pulled up when the drunk guy came by and he was saying he know who did it? Yeah, I have no idea what this lady was doing. I really don't. I'm so confused. Botox on the lips and all, and oh God, let me stop. I have no idea what that was all about. I would like to see that though, to see what she said in that interview, or not an interview. Maybe it wasn't an interview. Maybe they just had a few words, but before the guy pulled up one day before. So it was the day before the guy did that, or the same day? I don't get it. You mean I'm assuming he means it was the day before that. Insane. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but I just thought it was interesting that some random chick pulled up half naked with some boots on and decided to shoot a video. Not only that, she had the flowers for Nancy and didn't even leave the flowers. She took the flowers. What? You ain't even got enough respect to pay respect? But you got enough nerve. Just how bold. Like, you got enough nerve to pull up like that and just start doing whatever she's doing. I don't even think they were talking. It doesn't even look like they were talking. Normally, you would, if you're opening up some type of crime channel or whatever she was doing, you would think that they would be covering what's going on. But apparently they were just doing like a photo shoot. I have no idea. Insane. I guess he doesn't elaborate on the flowers at all. I forgot where I
What?
saw
A photo shoot at Nancy's house?
something about the flowers. Interesting though. Anyway. That was crazy. I didn't see anything on that girl at all. I looked her up. Like I said, all I know is her name is Kiki. I know nothing else. Jenny, thanks so much for the sub. I had something interesting I wanted to talk about real quick, just to make an interesting point, because in Nancy's neighborhood, I say this all the time, being a local, you know, being from Tucson, Arizona, in Nancy's neighborhood, and what's this guy's name, by the way? He's a pretty famous guy on Court TV. But in Nancy's neighborhood, you can get lost very easily. There's a lot of ways to go in and out of her neighborhood. So it was very obvious to me that these guys use GPS. I feel like even me being a local and knowing the neighborhood well, especially at night, I still get lost on where I'm going. And I've been here my entire life, 30 plus years, and I still get lost in the Foothills neighborhood. If you're not like a resident in that neighborhood, you're not really going to know the ins and outs of that neighborhood very well. So, you know, it could highly possibly be a neighbor for sure. This video from Court TV. For whatever reason, this girl kind of went viral just driving through the neighborhood. I don't know how. I guess I should just go ahead and get up and drive through the neighborhood right now. I want to take a live stream drive through that neighborhood. And then another thing, they say that from Nancy's home to Tommaso's home, it's 10 minutes. I argue that it's roughly more so around 6 minutes. For me, especially if I drive fast, but I think even, especially during this time, okay, 10 minutes during 5 p.m. in the afternoon traffic jam, maybe 10 to 12, 15 at the most to get from Nancy's home to Tommaso's home. At night, at 2 in the morning, though, from Nancy's home to Tommaso's, I guarantee you, about 6 minutes. Maybe if you're driving fast, you would get there within 5. It's that close. It's really not a 10-minute drive. I wanted to do that just to show everybody that it's not 10 minutes, but I guess they're just kind of doing it maybe a rough time, you know? So I don't know.
You know, whether it's a subdivision or a development or, you know, a city where there's lots of lights and people. It's much different in her neighborhood. It's not rural per se. There are homes there, but it's so dark and the homes are separated, and it's just not a traditional neighborhood in what you'd expect. And people move there for a reason, because it's so peaceful, so beautiful, so quiet. Except for the coyotes once in a while, right? I want you to take a look at this. We have some video. This is Alina Smith, co-founder of Crime Scene Collective, taking a ride through the neighborhood as well. And as you take a drive through the neighborhood, you can see what you don't see.
Right there, but I still don't even see any activity. Hi everybody, I'm here. Just in case this video goes somewhere, but I doubt it will. Look how beautiful this is. The video doesn't even do it justice. So in 800 feet, I mean, maybe I put in the wrong address, but... Oh,
I don't know how I was muted. I'm sorry, guys. So 9 times out of 10, I wasn't saying much. For whatever reason, this lady was going through this neighborhood, and there was nobody. She just so happened to drive through and there was no one. But most of the time, you'll see someone either walking their dog or they'll be just taking a walk. A lot of older people in this neighborhood walk around for exercise, and you'll notice that a lot. If you ever been to this neighborhood or you're from Tucson. And one other thing that you'll see that's not really common in most neighborhoods, in nice neighborhoods like this neighborhood, they wave. People say hello, they wave. So this is not common for her to go through the neighborhood during the day and see no one. There's always someone walking around.
I mean, it just looks like it's a small hill, but it's literally straight up. Like,
there isn't any street lights
walk
though.
This without like pushing each other up. Like, listen to the truck. I can't even see over it. Look, what is it? Oh my God! So I'm 200 feet. I turn. Let me see. Nothing. Am I in the right spot? Because it says I'm there in 2 minutes.
But in this neighborhood, you'll get lost. If you're not a resident, I'm telling you right now, you will get lost in this neighborhood. I don't care how many times you've been in this neighborhood, unless you have someone that lives in this neighborhood and you go to their house regularly, you'll learn the ins and outs of this neighborhood. For me, I've been here all my life and I still get lost. Still to this day, I get lost in the foothills area. It's a very big area. There's many, many streets that lead to other streets. You can travel through so many other neighborhoods without traveling through actual street lights. That's how most of Tucson is. So yeah, I thought this was an interesting video just because, you know, these, first of all, there's hills, but these roads are dark. They have agreement with the city to have no streetlights in this neighborhood, which I thought wasn't a very bright idea, especially for elderly. I figured, especially in a non-gated community for elderly folks that are living, you know, on a different level. They don't live an average life, being that they live in the foothills. Okay, this is supposed to be the rich side of town. So, and I would only think that people would want to feel more safe. But obviously people are more prone to wanting to be involved with the wildlife. So, but I don't know. I think I'd rather be safe than see wild animals at night or
to the truck
during the day.
I can't even see over it. Look, what is it? Oh my God. So 2 minutes.
And joining us now, the co-founder of Crime Scene Collective, Elena Smith. Elena, great to have you on the program tonight. Thanks so much for sharing the video with us. And I wanted to get your perspective, you know, having been out there and spent some time in the neighborhood. First of all, what did you notice about that neighborhood? What kind of stuck out to you?
Hi, thanks for having me on. Well, so as you saw in that video, it was, you know, from what I saw, you know, on the news before I went out there, it just looked like the streets were littered with, you know, media and cars and, you know, the orange cones and stuff like that. And here I'm pulling into the neighborhood and I've already been driving for a little bit and I don't see anything. I don't see any people. I don't see any vehicles. And there's all these little, you know, pull-offs. You could see like there's little streets you can pull off to the side. And this doesn't even have some of the, you know, streets. Like there's some of the streets that look like is a street, like you can pull off to the side and it's nothing. It leads to nowhere, or it's just like you just kind of can go around, or I don't even know. Like it's more than a maze. to be in that neighborhood, you have to be there for a reason. You don't just stumble upon this neighborhood. If you turn into this neighborhood by accident, you literally want to get out because you're like, I don't know where this is going to lead me. Do I end up in Pennsylvania? I have no idea. And like when I was going up this hill, I didn't know if it was going to drop me down because the truck is a 26 Tundra, so it's not a small truck. It's it's pretty hefty. It's got power in it, and just you saw me trying to go up that hill, and then I thought I was going to drop, but it just goes flat, and the whole terrain is up and down, and you
Seems
don't
like you
know
almost
what's next.
you have to kind of know what you're getting into when you go into that neighborhood.
You have
and that's
to.
in the middle of the day. We're talking here about the middle of the night, which would make it even more daunting and confusing if you're just sort of wandering through. Let's talk about the no trespassing signs. What was going on there when you were out by Nancy's house?
So as you saw, like I was still driving, so I still wasn't even at Nancy's house. Like I still had to go through a few streets before I even got to her street. And then you have to turn down another left street. And then I started to see the cars, right? And at that moment, it was filled with police and they were making her street, which is a typical, both-way street. They were turning it into a one-way street. And so they said, everybody has to leave and only one way now. And once we're done, they put up barricades up and down her entire road, plus some side roads as well. So it made it more difficult. They thought this would kind of weed out some of the media. And this made it, so everybody had to park on one side and you can only go one way. And at this point, it did not weed out the media. Everybody still stayed. They just found tents and set up better. Everyone just got more creative.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
so
I wanted to
like,
ask
all
you
right,
something
now
else,
what do we
though.
do?
I wanted to ask you about what you noticed about Nancy's front door.
Well, so then that's where I was going to say with the trespassing. So at this point, they just have a sheriff's vehicle in her driveway, and people can literally walk right up to as far as they can go before the sheriff comes out and says, hey, you can't walk this far. So I think that's what led to the no trespassing sign. So then anytime a vehicle would pull up, everybody just runs to the front of her because her driveway is like a kind of like a K. You can go straight and go into her garage, or you can just loop around, to turn right out, pull in, pull right out.
I think the media is just bored. I think they're just finding things to do with their time while they're waiting for something to happen with this investigation. And I only say that because I noticed that JLR was interviewing almost every single person, and other media as well. We're interviewing every single person that would bring flowers, which I thought was appropriate. But also, there are moments, which he did, that people would just like to bring flowers in peace and not be bothered. So, I mean, I'm both ways with it. But, yeah, I mean, I think media was just bored. Any little thing that was happening, they were recording it. They were, obviously all approaching whoever went to the door, as far as all the way down to the pizza man, the delivery driver that came. And I thought that was done on purpose because obviously if a pizza order has Nancy's address on it, then obviously it's the media that's ordering a pizza. And instead of someone saying something, because we already know you're waiting for your pizza to come, and it does tell you, or you're able to see where your driver's at, whatever. When your pizza's, you around what time your pizza's going to arrive. So whoever was in the media and ordered a pizza that day and let that guy go knock on the door, that was pretty jacked up. Maybe they didn't take notice to the guy pulling up, but like I said, media is just a little bored. I think they're just finding things to do with their time, as far as filming, and there's nothing wrong with it. As far as filming and interviewing people doing the same repetitive thing, there's nothing wrong with interviewing people. I would do the same thing too, but not almost every single person that's coming and bringing flowers. I think that's a little much, because that's what I observed when I was there. Most of the majority of people that did bring up flowers, a lot of these guys were asked to, if they wanted to say something. But we need to hear the public. We do, but I don't think we need to hear from a majority of people that bring in flowers. So Ashley Banfield was talking about the
And so anything.
bite light. I'm gonna go back to Court TV. I just wanted to play that video real quick, but Nancy, not Nancy, I'm sorry, Ashley was talking about the bite light, and she makes a comment in regards to the DNA referring to the bite light, saying that he had to take out the bite light at some point in time. And I thought that was an interesting point that she had, just due to the fact that the first thing I thought of was that's probably the DNA that they have. Like, that's probably it. It's probably it.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Banfield.
So-
This is Drop Dead Serious. Thanks so much for being here.
Let's check it out. Let's check it out real quick. I'm going to skip up a little bit because I don't want to hear
I
all
had
this.
this long conversation with a retired FBI special agent who had a lot to say about this criminal organization. He also has led the...
I'm doing well, though. I'm
response
hanging in there,
team
Teresa.
in
Thanks
one of the
for-
major cities
thanks
in the
for,
United States. So he'll be on in a minute to tell you a little bit about this organization, and then you can compare notes
Thanks for
and
asking.
see if you think that this organization applies to all the things that we've learned about in the Nancy Guthrie case. And then once you hear from him and you learn about this criminal organization, I then have Tracy Walder, who is also retired FBI and also CIA. And by the way, we were both in Afghanistan right around the same time, and we just learned that. We just learned that together, you know, back in the day. We were kind of in the same spot at right around the same time. She's going to weigh in on whether she thinks the Guthrie investigation should be thinking more about this group or not. So that's all coming in just a minute. But today, there are a few things to tell you about. Not a lot, though. Not a lot. And here's why I think there's not a lot. For starters, that damn parking enforcement is still up. I talked to Brian Enton today. He said it's still up there, which makes it hell in a handbasket for anybody to do any coverage. Not to say that they're not. In fact,
By the way, we know they did that on purpose. I mentioned that the other day in the stream. They blocked the street. Well, they didn't necessarily block it, but they made it a one-way. And then also, prior to that, they had put up no trespassing sign, which they were just talking about a second ago. Also, if you park on Nancy Street, you'll be fined up to $250. So, yeah, I think Nanos was trying to get us out of there. And he was. I'm not even doubting it or even overthinking it. He was trying to get us out of there. He obviously knew the Guthrie family was probably it just makes sense to me. The Guthrie family was probably communicating with them. You know, I'm sure that they missed the home. They wanted to visit the home, you know, because I feel like that's the closest place that anyone could be to Nancy right now is her home. And if I was Savannah or Annie, I would want to go home too. You know, that's where they grew up. Nancy lived there for over 41 years. So, I mean, of course they want to go home. And I think Nanos may have known that. And the best thing that he could possibly come up with for some type of privacy or less media attention, I think that's why, or part of the reason why they did what they did. But that's just me, though.
I do have reporting from outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. There was action there today. But of course, as you saw, this massive parking perimeter that goes for blocks and blocks and makes it very, very long, dusty walk through the desert to get to Nancy Guthrie's home. And then, of course, you're stuck there in the middle of the desert in the searing heat, which can go up to around 90. Dusty, dry, hot. You don't have power. You don't have shelter. You don't have water. I mean, come on. Sheriff Nanos clearly was trying to, in my opinion, clear us the hell out of there so that we couldn't do the reporting that people have been doing on this story. And I think that, you know, very much the people of Tucson, Arizona have a right to know what the hell happened at that house. Because originally he told us there was nothing to be concerned about. No worries. Nothing to worry about. Right? That is bullshit. And that's why you have reporters to say that is bullshit. And we're here to find out what actually happened because there are other people who live here. You know? Anyway, I digress. Today, the sheriff made a couple of comments about the black gloves. This was sort of a ho-hum to me. The sheriff said those black gloves were traced through DNA, and at the time we were told didn't match the DNA inside the home and didn't, hit into CODIS. But now we're learning that they traced that DNA to a local restaurant employee, and that individual is not part of the investigation. So just a little bit more detail about those black gloves that were found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. I never held a lot of stock in those gloves. There were like 16 plus gloves on that particular day that the sheriff had reported they'd found in and amongst sort of the rough around Nancy's vicinity of her home. So the sheriff did add this line, kind of a repeat, but lab analysis on other DNA evidence remains ongoing. I think that means IgG, investigative genetic genealogy. I think that they're probably taking that partial sample that they were able to extract from the mixture that they had sent to the Florida lab, whatever mixture that they found of male DNA unknown to anyone in Nancy's immediate circle, familiar circle. And I'm thinking that, yeah, okay, you didn't get a CODIS strike on that partial because you can't. You have to give a full sample to CODIS. But investigative genealogy does a lot with a partial sample. It can get you lots of your relatives. And then if you check my episode yesterday, it was one of my favorites. Oh my God, it was such a great episode. I learned about the gumshoe detective work that happens once you get the science finished and you get the names of those who match all the family tree, all up to 80 to 100 or so people. And then it's the detectives who just got to hit the pavement and start weeding out all the potential people that connect to the suspect. So yesterday's episode, highly worth checking it out. But I think that's what the sheriff means when he says lab analysis on other DNA evidence remains ongoing. I think they're doing the IgG stuff. And again, I keep going back to this. Sorry if you think I'm a broken record. I apologize, but I do appreciate it.
What do you mean you think they're doing the... I mean, they have no choice but to do the genealogy test or whatever test they got going on. That's the only test that we have. Besides that's all that we have right now, besides the other 40,000s of tips that they have that they still have to go through. I mean, I don't know how much they've narrowed that down since we were told we had over 40,000 tips. I think we have more than that, obviously, now, because from what I heard, we were getting thousands of tips per day. Just after hearing we were getting 40,000, just after hearing we got 40,000 tips. So we got well over 40,000 tips, and there's still tips coming in daily. So I don't know what she means, but that's all we have. As far as I know, we don't have any other leads or anything to go off of besides that DNA test. So we're patiently waiting.
Thank you for watching multiple times if you think I'm repeating myself. And I don't think it's crazy to think this. The bite light that the guy had in his mouth, right? You saw him using it. You saw him flashing on the ground as he was trying to find some MacGyver-styled item to, jack with the doorbell cam. You got to put that thing in your mouth. You got to take it out. And usually you use your fingers for that. Yeah? So what's in your mouth? Saliva. What happens when you take something out of your mouth with gloves? Saliva gets on your gloves. What happens with those little fingers of yours afterwards? You touch things like door handles, right? Or sliding doors. Or windows, or, I don't know, maybe that Nest cam and the bracket behind it when you're banging the hell out of it or stealing it in any way that you did. My source said it was smashed. And Michael Ruiz from Fox said that there were glass fragments found.
I don't see DNA being left by hitting the door cam off at that point in time. But as far as the bite light and saliva coming out of his mouth and that being transferred, yes. From what I heard, also DNA is very easy to transfer and get on your clothing, and you could possibly get something, and it doesn't take much to leave your DNA. So I think she has an interesting point there as far as the bite light and saliva being left somehow, some way. And I think that may be what they're trying to figure out. If that was the DNA that they recovered. I don't know what DNA they recovered from what, but sounds like Ashley might be on to something there.
Below that doorbell cam in the front entrance. So I think that there was DNA. inside that house of this guy, thanks to the stupid bite light. But I just think that behind the scenes, it's going to take time. It can take weeks and months to track that genealogical track. But again, yesterday's episode's a good one. Something else that was seen outside of Nancy Guthrie's home today, there was a sign, and here it is. It's like pretty clear.
Please do not leave media, as the Nancy abduction will go cold. And this is what I say every single day when I start the stream. I'm trying to keep that public awareness out there. Not only that, I want to help keep this thing alive, until they find Nancy, until they find this suspect. The main thing and main goal right now is finding the suspect. And I think that's what's going to lead up to finding Nancy. I think that's the only way we're going to find Nancy, is finding that suspect. But the biggest question is, once he's caught, is he going to tell? Is he going to say it all? Will he tell everything? Will he throw everything out all on the table? That's the biggest question. And if there is other people involved, which I very much so think there is, will they tell? And will their stories make sense? Will they all be related to one another's story? I mean, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I'm getting impatient. I really am. Hurry up.
Please do not leave, media, as the Nancy Guthrie abduction will go cold. I do not know who put that there. I don't know if it was another member of the media, but that was sitting there. And so we took a picture from Fox News, and there you have it. Also, from Michael Ruiz with Fox, there was a white van that pulled up to Nancy's home again today, and it was another flower delivery. Find that odd. But then apparently another woman came and dropped off more flowers. So it's not a good idea to send flowers, as well-meaning as it may be. There's still a lot going on at that home, and I'm sure that the florists probably feel very uncomfortable. In any case, that's what happened. So not a lot of activity outside the home. But I want to tell you about something that's been kind of gnawing at me. I had this conversation with a guy named Tom McAfee. He's a retired FBI.
Looking beyond big welcomes, I see some new people in the chat. Big welcomes, guys. Welcome, Tori. Catherine, big welcomes, by the way. She says this is a very strange world. People think very differently sometimes. I can't imagine this guy's thinking, doing this to an old lady. I'm thinking, what was his motivation? Yeah, like I can't imagine, and I don't know what goes through people's mind, the fact that they would want to take an old lady or a child. Those are the two biggest no-nos as far as kidnapping. You shouldn't kidnap anyone at all, but never take an old lady or a child. That's just insane. Insane to me. Teresa says, I pray something will pop up and it won't take months. I agree 100%. Hansel says, I enjoy being here. I think of, and I'm a little late on the chat, guys. I was just trying to catch up real quick. Hansel says, I enjoy being here, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. I enjoy you being here, by the way. I think of Nancy always, and I want to keep the case hot until she is found. Indeed, 100%. I'm here until the very end. I've never been so in tune with something like this, and I'm just not used to anything happening like this in my city. It's crazy to me. But I am in tune to the very end, and I am praying for the best as far as this investigation goes. It's tough. I like I said a few streams ago, I think when this is all over, I think I'm gonna cry. Like I'm a person who's not afraid to express emotions, or I'm not afraid to cry in front of nobody. I'll cry if I feel like that. I'm gonna do it. There's no holding back for me. This is one of those where I feel this. Like I really feel this. This one hurt. And it's more than just finding Nancy. It's more than just finding the suspect. There's just so many things that happen. I feel like our sheriff department has made the city look real bad. I mean, just by the way they represent our town and how they go about serious stuff like this. You know, it just goes to show that we need better sheriff. We need better chief of police. We need better leadership in the police department. That's not cool at all. And, you know, I honestly think Tucson Police Department would have handled this a lot better than the sheriff department. And it's frustrating because I thought the sheriff department was, you know, on another level than our, you know, other local city police, which would be TPD. But apparently not. Apparently not.
A special agent in Atlanta, and he ran the evidence response team.
You know, I almost feel like, not to get off topic here, I almost feel like, well, we're not off topic. We can't get off topic. We can talk about everything with this. I almost feel like it could almost even be a cop involved. I mean, just because everything was done so good, I feel like it could honestly even be an officer. I wouldn't even be surprised if Nanos is trying to cover up for one of his officers. I mean, he has that history, you know. And, well, let's share. I mean, there was a moment in time that I overheard about that. I guess one of the officers in Chris Nanos' division, there was a sexual assault incident, and from what I heard, this officer is still working for the sheriff department. I don't know if he's still working now, but I heard that he continued working after that. And for whatever reason, I'm hearing that Nanos played a big role in that, obviously. I mean, he is in charge.
Our team. And we saw the evidence response team with the FBI at Nancy Guthrie's home, right? We knew that they were there. We knew that they had come to Tucson. So Tom McAfee has a lot of knowledge about all things evidentiary that the FBI deals with, especially the response team. And he told me about SAT-G. You may think that sounds familiar, and it should. SAT-G stands for South American Theft Group. South American Theft Group, SAT-G. And best way for me to explain it is that it's kind of like a bunch of different groups of foreign nationals from South America, usually from South American descent, and often they enter the U.S. legally or illegally, and then often stay a little too long, overstay the visas, and then commit crimes like commercial and residential burglaries. This is kind of their lifeblood, SAT-G. These gangs of sometimes tourists, right? These are kind of crime tourists. They will come here, they will gather as groups, and they will knock off a bunch of homes. And I've got some specifics about how they typically operate. And when I say typically, you got to work with me here, guys. It's typical. It's not always. There are outliers. There are people who do things a little differently, but might still be within this sort of SAT-G realm. And typically, they rent vehicles, they use fake IDs, and they use fraudulent documents as they operate. Many of them use multiple burner phones so that they can communicate but make it really hard for law enforcement to track them and identify them and certainly find their locations. And they also are big into encrypted messaging. Now, there's lots of you may use encrypted messaging. Nothing wrong with that because, of course, we all feel a little big brothery. But these guys rely on these applications so that they can communicate with each other and no trail, okay? The targets that they usually, fixate on are expensive homes. Now, listen to this part. As I think about Nancy Guthrie's home, this is the description that I get. They often target expensive homes near golf courses, parks, or walking trails because there's better, access and egress points, better known as escape routes. You think about Nancy Guthrie's home, it's not on a golf course, but there are trails back there, and there are what looks like parkland, easy to get in and out, easy, dark. Not a lot of people would see you, easy to surveil as well. They use a lot of internet research to do their dirty work, and they surveil. They use commercially available cameras, they use tracking technology, and they study their potential targets before committing a burglary. And
I almost wonder if the FBI or, whoever is obviously doing all of the technology work behind this as far as the investigation goes, if they're going through every single email that Savannah has or Annie has or Tommaso has, just to see if there's anything odd, I would only hope that they would be checking every little thing that could possibly lead us up to finding this suspect, but I highly doubt it. One other interesting thing, I got a question for you guys. And we may not know this at all, but I feel like we got a good idea whether or not, because I feel like we would have overheard this, but maybe not. If Annie and Tommaso do not have anything to do with this, remember, they only have that one car. I don't think they have any other vehicles from what I saw, upon passing by, because I did go by their house several times, as well as Nancy's. Why hasn't Annie or Tommaso demanded their car back if they've been ruled out as suspects, but their car is still under investigation? Because for me personally, my car is everything, and it's all that I have, and it gets me everywhere. It does a lot for me. I know how important my car is. It gets the kids to school. It gets me to work. It gets us food. It does almost everything, besides being able to live in it. And at one point, I had to do that for a couple of days. So, the car is everything. And for someone like me, I'm demanding my car back if I'm no longer a suspect. Then there's no need to investigate my car anymore, right? They finally got it back yesterday? Where did you hear this? I would like to know. Tori says, I was wondering if locals are scared right now that this person is still on the loose. Are people locally thinking that way? I would be scared. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because I talked about this the other day. And like I said, I'm traumatized. I'm traumatized. Some nights I'm skeptical of even going to the car. Occasionally I open the door to look down the hallway to make sure that my daughters are still safe and still in their beds. Yeah, I'm highly bothered. We're not used to anything like this in the city. It's just scary. It's scary. I'm not someone who carries. Not that that's something that everyone needs to know, but I really don't carry. I'm considering purchasing a firearm soon. It's a right to carry state. So I don't know why I waited this long. Probably because I don't cause no problems with anybody and I don't have to ever worry about anybody. But this goes to show what they say. You never know. You never know. But I'm highly traumatized. I'm highly, highly traumatized. I occasionally, if you pay attention, you'll see me while I'm on stream. You'll occasionally see me, and I turn my camera off sometimes, but you'll occasionally see me take the headphone off because I feel like I'll hear stuff sometimes. I'm traumatized, guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to keep it, because I'm a straightforward guy. I keep it real. But occasionally I hear noises and I get really curious. I'm not going to say scared, but I get a little nervous sometimes. My girl just jumped up a second ago because she heard a noise. And it scared the crap out of her. And the first thing we're going to think of is this. But yeah, it's been different. It's been different for sure. But yeah, I really hope they catch this guy. Where I'm from, I grew up in a real rough neighborhood, and you know how it goes when you've grown up in a rough neighborhood. But based on where I grew up, I mind my business. Stuff crazy like this happens. I'm used to it. But as I've gotten older, things have changed. And, you know, normally when something crazy happens, I just talk about it for a short amount of time and then move on. This has been so bothersome. We've sat here and we've talked about this for 32 straight days. Who talks about something for 32 straight days? What really bothers you that you could really think of? It's just not normal. That's something that's really got to you for 32 days. I find myself being tired of even talking about this sometimes, but it never gets old. But I always keep other people in mind, and like, especially for my girlfriend, I'm like, I don't even ask her, but I'm like, I'm sure she's tired of hearing about this. The moment we get in the car, I'm looking for news. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to, you know, people like, you know, Ashley Banfield. I'm listening to documentaries made by robots, and you know, every little thing. I'm on it. I'm on it. Like, this case has been super frustrating. They got to get this guy out of here. I felt at one point pretty angry. I looked at my girl. I was like, you know what? I said, I almost want to go down to the sheriff station and just demand them to like do something. Like, y'all got to do something. But you know what's really interesting to me? If we had our guy, because a lot of us are like, you know, we're like, we know they have something. We know a lot of us, I think, not a lot of us, but I've heard very, you know, a good amount of people say that they think the FBI knows who their guy is, but, you know, and I say this all the time, but they just can't put him there. They can't make it stick, or they're trying to find other people that may be involved with this and put it all together and then present it to the world and just hit whoever it is with it. But here's why I don't feel like they have anything. Only simply because every single hit that we've had, and we've had a suspect, we've wasted no time. From Carlos to Luke to them rushing through several times and, you know, raiding Annie and Tommaso's home. Any time in this investigation, if you've noticed, if we've had a suspect, they have went straight there. They wanted whoever it was that they had suspicion about. So if we had someone and, you know, we had suspicions that it was a person and they fit the description, we would be at their door. We wouldn't be sitting here waiting for them to say something. So that tells me that we don't have anybody just yet. But that's my take, and I feel like that's pretty logical.
Think about Nancy Guthrie.
I went down to the news station today. I don't know if you guys got to see the banner. Nancy had a banner, not to stop the video. Nancy has a banner and it says, "Bring her home." I went there just to kind of show everybody the banner. You know, everyone wrote all over the banner at one point. I think you guys probably saw Brian Eaton as well as JLR and several other media guys go down there and you know, show the banner that she had. I put it on my channel. I'm gonna take it down because no one's really looking at it. They really don't care. But I thought it was interesting that, you know, they put a really big banner up. Thought it was dope. And I think I got the video here. I just want to play that real quick before I continue this video here with Miss Ashley Banfield. I wanted to show y'all this because a lot of you guys that are following the story. This is that cop somebody told me to look up. I guess maybe he's a good cop. I don't know. And I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I'm a local. I've been here all my life. Whoever that guy is. So I figured I'd show you guys a couple of the things that were said. Let y'all get a glimpse for yourself. I know a lot of us have seen this picture, but we can't see in the picture. So I figured I'd give y'all a close-up, small little tour. We are out in front of News 4, Tucson. And you'll see the candles. They made this a heart. A lot of people put their names on them. I think somebody put Tucson. We love you, Nancy. Yes, I thought that was cool. Some ribbons and flowers. There's your boy. And I wrote something here, you can clearly see. It says, we're gonna bring you home no matter what. We're going to find you. And whoever did this, prayers to the Guthrie family, the juice. Let y'all get to see what some of the people had to say. It looks like a lot of people were sending prayers, so. Yeah, I thought it was dope. People went out there and they actually showed love, wrote something there. I mean, we've had a lot of that. People, at the memorial site in front of Nancy's home, people leaving little notes and, everyone just sending a message, man. This is national. I just like the fact that everybody's involved. And this is why I feel like it's so difficult for people to lost my thought. This is why I think it's difficult for this suspect and whoever else may have been involved to get away with this, just because there's so many people involved. There's so many people watching. I thought it was dope, though. I just hope that they find Nancy at some point in time. I hope they find this guy, most importantly. I think we're all at conclusion that Nancy's no longer with us. But I'm still hopeful. My hopes are still high.
Guthrie's case, because we learned from our sources, not from the sheriff, no thanks to the sheriff, that those two different photographs of the perpetrator, some were video, one was a still shot of the perpetrator on the doorbell cam, one wearing the backpack, one no backpack, that those actually came from different times, different dates. So it lends to the whole casing the joint, surveilling the joint. So that sort of fits into the SAT-G, modus operandi. They typically break in via back windows, glass doors, often targeting second floor entry points. Nancy Guthrie's home doesn't have a second floor, but it sure as hell has sliding glass doors and back doors and back windows. In fact, I think, Lindsay, who was it who told us, a guest told us there were 6 different entry points, I think, into Nancy Guthrie's home. Chris McDonough. So it would be the front door. That garage would be the second. If there's 2 sliding glass doors, that would make 4 entry points. And then also a back door, that would be 5. 6, I'm not seeing 6, but I believe it. I mean, I already named 5 just like that, so definitely. Lots of entry points, and several of them glass doors and the glass windows as well. So they also primarily target jewelry and designer
I don't know much about it.
And frequently they leave behind other things that are even more expensive, right? So like, wow, there's this amazing flat screen TV, untouched, right? Maybe some beautiful silver, untouched. They're going after specific things because these things are easy to sell. They're easy to fence, right? Get someone else to liquidate it for you. So you got the money, not the goods. So they typically go after jewelry and designer accessories. Now, Nancy Guthrie's 84 years old. I don't think she may be the type to be all into the designer accessories. I mean, it's not a Kardashian sort of situation, right? But somebody who's older, may have acquired a lot of jewelry in her life, right? Maybe there's something somebody saw on her at some point and thought that would be easy. Again, she's an elderly woman. I might even be able to get it off her finger. Don't know, but I'm getting to that in just a moment because that's high risk when you're starting to go into occupied dwellings, okay? And Sat-G, depending on who you talk to, not typically interested in going into occupied dwellings. And I know where you're thinking, and I'm going to go with you there in a moment, but let me continue. Quick note from my sponsor. It is that time of year again, tax time. You know, it's so stressful. Maybe you owe back taxes or you've got unfiled bill interest. Investigation call to drop bids are typically on the East Coast or the West Coast of the U.S. So again, they've come up from the South American countries, and they've sort of headed to both coasts, but it doesn't mean that they're targeting both coasts. They target every state. There's operations in every state. They just focus on the headquartering and maybe the dispatch from the West and East Coasts. And they use fences, people who will sell the stolen goods that they get in their B&Es and then liquidate it to cash instead of hauling around all these, expensive goods because you're crossing borders. Not smart. So, in some cases, a portion of the stolen property is actually sent to Chile or Colombia, meaning they actually do send the goods. That's crazy, but okay. They take the risk and they send them probably via UPS, FedEx, mail, however they decide to send it. But most of the profits from the fencing are actually wired overseas. And they keep some of the money back in the US as well, because like any business, there are expenses, right? If you think about these guys, these are criminal tourists.
Guys, I had to stop the video just real quick here. If you're plugged in right now, you're tuning in, you're enjoying the channel, don't forget to like the video as well as subscribe if you are enjoying the video. Leave a comment, drop a comment. It's a new channel. Well, I'm back on my channel. I guess I've been doing this for quite some time, but I'm back. I took a long time off, and I'm starting all over again. Growing channel, got a lot to learn. So if there's anything you might want to give me as far as any pointers, feel free to let me know. I mean, I don't mind at all. I mean, I want to grow and I want to perfect my craft in the best way. So that help comes from you guys. So feel free to drop a comment. But don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe. It is free. You know what they say. Liking the stream helps the algorithm. So don't forget to give it a thumbs up as well if you're enjoying the stream. If you're not, feel free to give it a thumbs down, I guess. I do read the comments, though. Somebody did mention something in the comments earlier. I think it was yesterday. And I think they were referring to the body language of Annie and Tommaso when they had arrived at that memorial site just yesterday. So I got to look at that. Also, somebody made a comment stating that Ashley had made a comment. She said Ashley said that Tommaso was the prime suspect per inside informant. She is going to be sued for spread BS. Savannah stated to Google she is going to take legal action against any false information. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know how valid that is, but you never know. And you do got to be careful. A lot of people misinforming us a lot. So be careful where you get your facts based off this investigation. Someone put Detective Juice. Come on now. Really? That'd be crazy. That'd be dope, though. I think that was Terry. I see familiar people in the comments that are in the chat, so I appreciate the comments, guys. Somebody made another comment, too, but I can't remember where I was at with that one. I was going to respond to that one, but I don't recall what they had said, and I don't know if it was yesterday or not. Oh, there it is right there. It was Pammy. She said, watch the body language of the family at the memorial in front of Nancy's house. It speaks volumes. I didn't really see nothing too crazy as far as the body language. So I don't know what she was actually talking about. I guess I could watch it real quick, though. I guess it wouldn't hurt. I mean, we got plenty of time. and a whole lot of nothing happening with this investigation. So let me stop asking for a second. I gotta watch that just real quick, just so we can see if we see anything. You know, it took us a while to figure out a lot of stuff with that suspect we saw in front of Nancy's home with that mask and whatever that backpack is called, the Walmart backpack. Shoot. But I don't see anything crazy that I thought that was a little off. I was looking at Tommaso's height. Does Savannah have on heels? I don't think she has on heels. Well, I guess they are heels. They're kind of like boots. I guess those would make her a little taller. She looks like she's taller than Tommaso. And normally, even when a woman puts on heels, I'm assuming that Savannah's not very short herself. I wonder how tall she is. But looking and observing this picture, it looks like Tommaso actually could be 5'9" to 5'10". It sounded like normal grieving to me, with the loss of a mom from Annie, but I kind of didn't know what to take from her grieving at the same time because I've been iffy about her. Yeah, I don't really see anything unusual to me. I guess I could be missing it. I don't know, Chad. What am I missing? Am I missing something? Was there something unusual to you guys that I may have been missing as far as the body language? Catherine says, yeah, we're all iffy about her. She doesn't seem authentic. Yeah, I thought when they put that video out, to me, it looked like she was like purposely trying to cry. It didn't really look like she was really grieving. I don't know. It's really hard to tell, but not in that specific video. But right now, lately, it's been hard to tell. No one's really talked about the brother as much either, though, because I think we're forgetting that he hasn't spoke either. He spoke at one moment in time, just like Annie did. In that interview, Annie did speak, or not the interview, I'm sorry, when they were talking to the person who put out the ransom, Annie had something to say. I don't remember what she said, but she did speak, as well as Savannah. I don't think the brother spoke at that time, but later he did come out saying that they wanted proof of life. But he hasn't spoken either, just as long as anyone else, and I don't think a lot of people had any suspicions about him. I don't either, but he hasn't really said much either. I don't know if we could really hold them 100% accountable for not speaking, though, because I'm sure they all have lawyers and they're all going to follow the lawyer's lead. And obviously, I think most lawyers are probably going to tell you not to talk just because it could hurt and it could hurt the investigation. But I think they hurt the investigation by speaking out publicly pertaining to just the ransom alone. Although I think we all think at this point the ransom wasn't legitimate anyways, but at the moment in time, I think That would have really hurt whatever was going on at that time, especially the ransom. If you're trying to demand money in holding somebody for ransom, you don't want the media, nor do you want police involved whatsoever. So to me, that was easy to X out. Yeah, I don't see any odd body language though. Yeah. Maybe I could be missing something though. It could be me. Could just be me.
And they keep some of the money back in the U.S. as well.
Anyway.
Because, like any business, there are expenses, right? If you think about these guys, these are criminal tourists, right, who've overstayed their visas, and they're having to live kind of under the radar a little bit. So they've got rental car expenses, hotel expenses, food expenses, burglary tool expenses. You know, they got to buy their backpacks. They got to buy their hammers and their screwdrivers and anything else they're going to use. Maybe their wife.
As far as where Savannah's brother lives, I don't know. The brother of Savannah and Annie, I don't know if he lives here locally. I would only think he does. But yeah, as far as the family, everyone's here local except for Savannah. I believe Savannah's in New York, not too far away from the Today Show. From what I heard that they purchased a townhome it's a multi-million-dollar townhome that her and Michael purchased a while back. I think it was 2023 when they purchased the townhome. Don't quote me on it. My information may be incorrect as far as their purchase on a home, but I think I am correct. Just because I've been doing a lot of research. But like I said, don't quote me on it. But from what I heard, 2023, they purchased a townhome for some millions of dollars. I don't think it was a cheap home.
Jammers. I'm getting to that in a moment as well. But many of them commit the crimes so that they can fund their own lives back in their home countries or the lives of their families, right? So it used to be, you came to America to do a good day's honest work and then you send a check back home. Oh, okay, well, the honest work went out the window with these guys. They came to America just to fleece us. And they're sending the money home, or they're sending the money so that it'll be there when they get home. And of course, if you think about it, a lot of these people are arriving from the United States. And so their home countries actually do a lot of searching. Like there's a lot of heavy searching for, you know, people who arrive back from the United States. I'm from Canada. And every time I came back from the United States, you know, I was always nervous because they want to know if you bought a bunch of U.S. goods and you're bringing it into the country, into Canada, and you're not paying duties. Tariffs, you're not paying, you know, the taxes and so a lot of countries will search people coming from the U.S. And so because of that, these folks say, hey, not worth it to bring the goods back, not worth it to bring the jewelry back. We'll get caught at our own home border. So we fence it, we get the cash, and then we can either send the cash through wire or maybe, I don't know, pack it in your luggage. That's also dumb. But they typically send the liquid cash profits home and they don't try to smuggle the goods necessarily over the border. Again, not always, but typically. This is from FBI.gov. I want to read directly. One thing that sets these groups apart from other criminal groups is their brazenness in targeting victims. Rather than trying to fly under the radar, these thieves have deliberately broken into the residence of at least one professional athlete. I'm getting to that in a moment. It's important to note that crimes committed by South American theft groups victimize all types of people, not just professional athletes or wealthy business owners. They also pickpocket shoppers and steal from retail stores. And my guess is they'll hit up any home if they think they can do it successfully. Now, to the successful athlete, I know what you're thinking. I remember Cincinnati Bengals Joe Burrows. He got hit when he was at an away game. You are right. It happened in December of 2024. Joe Burrow was playing in Texas. I don't remember who he was playing, but and these guys bust into his home. There were three of them.
Yeah, this is, I don't think Annie has anything to do with it, and as hurt as she seems to be, I think she would unalive Tommaso if he did. You might have a point there. I don't know. I can't argue with that. I don't know. I'm upside down at this point. I don't really know. I don't know what to think at this point as far as a family decision. But I think she should have took the risk of just paying. Like I said, she's surrounded by so many people. This thing is national. Do you know how many people would have donated if she would have started a GoFundMe or just some type of place that everyone could go and help out? We could have came up with the money within the entire time of the ransom before the actual deadline, and she wouldn't even have had to go in, she wouldn't have had to come out of pocket at all. She has so many sources, and she's on a whole nother level of fame on top of that. People like that, I call them godly because they have perks that we don't have. For those of us that live normal life. Savannah's not a normal person, and she doesn't live a normal life. I believe she also has a doctor's degree as well. So she's a special person with many perks amongst herself, many achievements. I mean, she's a different breed. She's a different breed for sure. But I think she could have utilized the perks that she had to her advantage as far as, the money situation goes. I think that there would also have been a way to get that money back, even if she did come out of pocket or it was donated. I think she could have easily got that money back somehow, some way. So whatever sources that she had telling her not to do it, that was a bad move. It was a bad move. Whether the ransom was legitimate or not, we could have X'd that out a lot sooner. And because they didn't do anything at all, we're still confused as far as, determining whether or not it's legitimate or not. We will never know. It'll forever be a myth until someone comes out and says it wasn't real, But for right now, we're all just going to have our own opinion on whether or not the ransom was legitimate. But I have to, I got to give Savannah some blame on that. We could have got that out the way almost immediately. But that's just my take.
Who were charged, burgled his home, right? Two of them were charged with allegedly moving stolen property against state lines, interstate, right? Interstate commerce. And then one of them was charged with alleged falsification of records in a federal investigation. These guys took allegedly $300,000 worth of stuff. And when I say stuff, kind of fit the MO. Expensive luggage, jewelry, accessories, all from this football player's home. And they believe that these SAT-G members used fake IDs to do this, rented a vehicle, drove across the state lines to commit the burglary, and then drove back across state lines to Florida, carrying all the stolen items back with them to Florida. And so, this is the fun part, however they got their leads, they executed a search warrant. And this was delicious. The investigators discovered that one of the morons who did this decided to take a selfie, right? Where he was posing with his pals, showing all of the stolen property from Joe Burrow's home. Thank you. Bye-bye. Clink. You know, easy way to catch a guy who's stupid enough to take these pictures. Look at me with all my booty. You may have heard
that's how
something
you
even
get
more
locked
recent,
up.
because during the Nancy Guthrie investigation from February 1st, the first day that she was reported missing, through the entire month of February, this has been like a top news story. And on the 24th of February, there was a big report, and I've got information from ABC 13 in Houston, that 60 plus burglaries were reported in the Houston area. 20 people were arrested. And wouldn't you know, South American burglary ring, they recovered $4 million of stolen property. But yeah, you probably heard about it. 60 properties all in one fell swoop. Like, talk about a cluster. And this is how ABC 13 reported it.
7 break-ins in West University Place and more than 60 across the Houston area. Investigators say this man, Patricio Munoz, was one of the major players behind the Chilean burglary ring responsible. January 28th, he and his wife, Tanya Barra, were arrested by HPD's West Side Crime Suppression Team. Together, investigators say Munoz and Barra were funding and directing many of the break-ins. Munoz allegedly selling these jamming devices to a separate Colombian burglary ring. They're used to disrupt home security systems.
They have multiple antennas and radios built into them.
Nigel Nielsen owns the IT firm Ideal Tech. He's familiar with the jamming devices, illegal to own under federal law.
It's sending out a really strong signal to overwhelm the signal of your security cameras, your alarm systems, your cell phones.
What about police radios? Could it interfere with that?
I would suspect so.
Westview police say they found a jamming device on this Chilean burglary suspect during a break-in last year. Altogether, Houston police say they've arrested 20 members of the burglary ring and recovered $4 million worth of stolen property. It's the same crime ring linked to break-ins at the homes of professional athletes in Ohio, Wisconsin, and Kansas. Munoz was previously charged and sentenced in Los Angeles for the 2022 break-in of then Congresswoman Karen Bass's home.
What's your country of origin, man?
Chile.
Chile.
Munoz and his wife were booked into the Harris County Jail last month
I think we
on
can
charge.
skip this. We don't really care about that story right now. I don't know where Ashley's going with this one.
Jamming devices. Did you hear that? Jamming devices. Jamming devices.
That's
Because
possible,
in
but I don't
one
think
of the
they had
episodes,
jamming devices.
I think it's 2 or
But
3
it's
episodes
possible.
ago. We were questioning what was in the pocket of the suspect who's seen on the doorbell cam. To me, it looked like the edge of an iPhone.
That's
but when I
possible, though.
talked
It's
to
possible.
Maureen O'Connell, right, retired FBI special agent, she knows her stuff. She said, "Oh no, that looks like a radio of some kind, like maybe a walkie-talkie, or maybe a jamming device, right? Maybe a jamming device, because." And Maureen explained this best. If you're going to commit a burglary,
Yo, looking
you're not
beyond
gonna
Big
go with
Welcome,
your
by the way.
iPhone
No, I
hanging
didn't hear
half
about that at
and
all.
typically your front pocket will fit your iPhone, but it may not fit something bigger like a radio, like a walkie-talkie, or maybe a jamming device, because it does kind of look like it might be one of those antennae. Super interesting, though, if I do say so. So I wanted to talk to somebody who knows a lot more about SatG than I do. And Tom McAfee spent decades with the FBI. Okay, not only as a special agent, he's retired now, but he also was the head of the evidence response team in Atlanta, where he's from. And I had loads of questions about SatG, but here's the catch. Tom did not want to discuss the Nancy Guthrie investigation because he feels like it's still, being investigated. So he was happy to discuss SatG. Just don't freak out if you don't see me jumping right in and demanding that he answer something about the Nancy Guthrie investigation. But fear not, because I've also had a very long conversation with Tracy Walder. And Tracy is a former CIA officer and FBI special agent, years and years and years in law enforcement. And she absolutely can see both the benefits and the pitfalls to the idea that the crime against Nancy Guthrie may have been committed by the SatG criminal enterprise. So here first is my conversation with Tom McAfee. Tom, talk to me a little bit about SatG and what their MO really is.
Sure. This SatG, or South American Theft Group, is a loosely organized crime group that originates out of places like Colombia, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Venezuela. These are typically non-U.S. citizens that come here on either through a visa waiver program or tourist visa. They overstay, sometimes just illegal immigrants. And basically what they do is they get into various jobs, typically manual labor, but they end up doing surveillance on residences that are in typically very nice developments, and they target primarily Indian, Asian families, where they'll do extensive surveillance of a residence, and then when they go to break in, they typically go in when no one's home. They use technical devices to defeat security system.
Yeah, I haven't heard that as far as somebody researching anything in regards to Savannah, but when I did hear about that, that had happened in Tucson. They said that the person that searched that about Savannah, that happened in Tucson. It was someone that, it came from Tucson. I haven't heard anything about Colorado as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if you know where I could find that, I'd be glad to look it up, or I'll search it up right now, but I haven't heard anything about Colorado at all. I was trying to find that interview, it's not an interview. I don't know why I keep calling it an interview. I was trying to find the day that Savannah, Annie, and the brother put out the video when they were talking to the person that was demanding that ransom. But I couldn't find the original video without the newscast talking about a million other things on top of showing the video. But this particular video, maybe you guys could send me the link if you could find it. I was trying to find it just to observe the emotions of Annie, because somebody said they don't believe that Annie has anything to do with it. But it's this particular video right here, when I thought that Annie was trying to purposely make herself cry, or just trying to find tears. You know when somebody's really trying to show emotions and have tears and they just can't get it out? Well, in this video, that's what I observed and what I saw. And I could have been wrong. And I always say everyone grieves differently. We all grieve differently. But in that video, I thought that something was fishy. That was my moment that took a turn for me as far as whether or not Annie has something to do with it. Because I know when somebody shows signs of being remorseful, or, how they look when they're truly hurt from something, But there are also those people who handle grief differently. And it's very hard to figure out where their emotions are, whether they're genuine emotions toward whatever's going on. Some people do have very misleading emotions, but I think Annie's aren't really hard to, really figure out where she is mentally with this thing. I don't know. I just get the impression that something's up. Somebody knows something, and I still haven't let go of the fact that it falls in the lines of whatever it is that's going on is related to Annie and Tommaso having something to do with it. I don't really know about the bandmate of Tommaso, Dominique, just because I don't really see that person being too involved with the family, but you never know. I just don't really see a brother-in-law bringing over a friend to family's house to, do things. I don't know. It's possible, though, because my best friend is involved with my family a lot. So if that is Tommaso's best friend, then, that obviously changes things. But I think we're going to learn and be surprised that it's someone completely different from what we thought. And I feel like it's going to turn out that it was a white boy that we saw in that footage and not a Hispanic. Because I think all of us, or a lot of us, are led to believe that it's a Hispanic guy. You know, the forensic, well, not even that. The sketch that the lady did, I know for sure that guy was Hispanic. He wasn't a white guy. Everyone that we've detained, besides Luke, because I think he looked like he was a white guy, has been Hispanic. So that tells me they think he's Hispanic and not white, but I still see a white guy behind that mask for whatever reason.
Jammers?
And they target those places specifically because those families
Not to get off topic.
And maintain large amounts of cash, jewelry, precious metals in their home.
But you were mentioning they thwart security systems like with jammers?
Yes, these jammers, again, very sophisticated techniques where they do surveillance and counter surveillance within neighborhoods. Typically looking at some of these houses that are maybe abutting a golf course.
Yeah, no, Lisa, I agree. Dominique is very much so identical to the guy on the porch for sure.
They'll use some of the public fairways or thoroughfares behind the golf course to go set up surveillance.
He's the closest thing.
And I know you can't address the Nancy Guthrie issue at all, but I've been curious about something I've seen in his pocket, which to me looks like an iPhone sticking out or maybe a walkie-talkie, and I keep wondering if it's maybe one of these jammers, but I've never seen them. But you said something very interesting. You said that they often take jobs, like as manual labor, maybe landscapers. I'm just wondering if that could have been something that applies to the current case that I'm looking at, because that's an easy way to surveil somebody working on the property.
Yeah, I have no indication or information about that. But again, typically they might work in a neighborhood capacity, yard, landscape, things like that.
But jobs that someone who isn't legal could actually do, because obviously they're here on expired tourist visas or some other kind of visa that they've overstayed.
It's under the table type stuff.
Yeah. Well, that makes a little bit more sense, though. But I also noticed in our earlier discussions that you mentioned many of them are really highly trained, like paramilitary or even maybe former police.
Yeah, that doesn't go across the board, but there are instances of many having paramilitary or law enforcement backgrounds that come up here and conduct activities.
Yeah. And again, I know you can't comment on that, but when I think of that, I think that doesn't look like the guy who I saw on the doorbell cam at Nancy Guthrie's house, because he looked like a bungling fool. He certainly didn't look like he knew what he was doing or had a plan in place. He looked like he was searching around for a plan as he was going. But and like you said, it's not across the board, so there can be discrepancies in these types. You mentioned that they typically, target Indian and Chinese because of the high number of cash and jewelry that typically these folks might have. But, do they also just typically target high-end homes and they may not know what's inside?
Yes.
What's her point to talking about this? Because it's definitely not a robbery. They didn't take anything.
Affluent neighborhoods. Here in Georgia, there have been a number of SATG break-ins and arrests, upwards of $600,000 worth of material being stolen from one particular residence. It's very common.
Well, there was this big Houston cluster too. 60 burglaries in Houston, Texas a couple weeks ago?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Very
And
sensitive.
then the brazenness. And I think about the brazenness again. I think of everything right now as with the prism of Nancy Guthrie's case, but the brazenness of SATG is that they'll go into homes like of Joe Burrows of the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the risk factor is huge, and it didn't seem to matter. Talk about the risk factor when it comes to SATG folks.
Well, again, typically the targeted residents are not known to have firearms, not known to do a lot beyond just technical surveillance or technical burglar alarms, things like that. Some of the NFL players, I know that's been very sensitive, and I know the NFL is doing a good job teaching their players about these sorts of thefts when they travel, because they're gone for a long time, and it kind of makes a unique opportunity for them. So it does go to hiring a house sitter or something like that to watch some of their stuff. But that was very recent. The 3 out of Cincinnati broke into that house.
Honestly, I would have always assumed that some high-rolling NFLers got some kind of person back at the home when he travels. They got a lot of money, and they could have house managers or staff of some kind. So I was really surprised that they would take that much of a risk. But what about the surveillance? Like, what kind of surveillance does SATG, network folks typically employ?
It's typically physical surveillance. So that means someone's there looking. You know, in a neighborhood near where I live, there are walking paths, and so they'll park in one area and walk through the neighborhood. Basically through a circuitous route to be able to go through the neighborhood and get into the forests that are behind these houses, and they'll set up back there and just watch for a while.
What's the ideal strike time, or is it all over the map?
I think it all depends on the victim. We've had some that happen in the mid afternoons, and then a lot were in the evening, and some in the morning. It just depends.
And when you say morning, do you mean like overnight, the early morning hours? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the local sheriff's office here, Forsyth County, has done a fantastic job.
I don't know what her point is. I really don't.
The classic neighborhood watch. Somebody sees something and they're calling it in, and Forsyth County Sheriff's Office is on it immediately.
Like where are we going with this?
Canine tracks, aerial assets, things like that. It's very
Ashley threw me off with this one.
Overwhelming to find that person.
But the typical MO of someone with SATG, they don't expect someone.
But yeah, I think it was Handsome who mentioned, not to get back off topic, because I was thinking about this. Now you guys got me thinking about the suspect. Well, I can't not think about it. That's all we think about. But Dominique he's definitely the closest to me, in my opinion, to the suspect at that door. I think somebody mentioned it just a second ago. Yeah, there's one specific angle. I'll see if I can find it, where to me he looks like a white guy, but when you're looking at when he's like looking directly at the camera, that's when I see Dominique. That at that very moment is where I'm like, okay, that has to be this guy, But I could be wrong. I'm going to show that other picture of when he's facing the other way, and then I'll put that picture back up of the actual suspect and Dominique. But I still am leaning in I think it's a white guy. I really do. It like irks me not to be able to really figure this out myself either. I feel like myself has had enough evidence to figure this out, but I'm no detective or investigator. I would just love to see their tree. Yeah, because they have a tree. You know what I'm saying? They have some type of tree of, leads. So I think that would be dope and interesting to see how their tree would look. Although they moved everything to Phoenix now, so they're not here doing this case, I think, in Tucson. I believe they got more resources in Phoenix, so yeah.
They're not home invaders. They're home burglars mostly, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's back in the day, a long time ago, there used to be more the home invasion type. That's kind of changed because the penalties for armed home invasions are a lot different than just a B&E break and entry type situation. So they've kind of evolved their tactics in that regard.
But how? I mean, other than just straight surveillance, do they employ tactics outside the house, say late at night, to make noise, to see if a light goes on? That's the typical, Hollywood way that you find out some's home in the middle of the night. But what kind of tactics would they use to make
Not
sure
so much the eyebrows for me, it's
go
the
in
eyes
that
for
no
me.
one's home?
I haven't seen anything like that where they're making noise to see if there's a dog or anything like that. Again, it's they're not quick, right? They are slow and they are patient. So going and watching is what they do, and they build up travel patterns and work patterns and things like that. So again, I haven't seen anything like that where they push or try to what we call tickle the wire kind of thing to get something going.
Tickle the wire, is that what you mean by
that's
sort of?
It's an old FBI term for other stuff, but that's what defaults to that.
Try to prod and see if maybe there's some reaction inside. I would imagine you'd want to know something before you're going to go into someone's home who could have a weapon.
Right? If they did that and he got caught. Now
Yeah.
you're out of you're maybe out of status, things like that, and then they'll have other problems.
So, are there other ways that I mean, you mentioned the jammers that they might bring to thwart a home security system, but do they do other things that are just physical and
I
hands-on,
doubt
like
they got jammers.
grabbing cameras off their mounts, taking
well,
the cameras
let
with
me
them,
not-
or
let me not
smashing,
overthink it. It's a
spotlights?
possibility.
We haven't really seen that much activity where they're
Trying to find this
destroying the
picture, Chad.
cameras.
Give me a sec.
There's a lot of commercially available jammers that are out there. There's been on Joe Rogan's show and Sean Ryan's shows, things like that, where they talk about these different jammers that are out there. And so I really can't talk to their techniques with respect to some of those cameras. Most of the stuff that we've seen, it's just been they go in when no one's there. Now, there have been some Ring cameras that actually led to a police
They
response.
really don't have a good
but,
picture of this
A lot
guy.
of them don't have that.
And are they typically masked? And I only ask that because
Of
if your
that
jammer doesn't
side
work and
angle.
you're on camera, because most people have doorbell cams now, have they figured out a way to get around that with these, big ski masks?
A lot of folks will have masks, and again, that goes part to like when you get apprehended, you'll have these tools, burglary tools, which be a mask, a hammer, things like that, to break windows or whatever.
So to that end, do they usually have a kit in a backpack or something with them
they'll bring tools with them, absolutely.
So talk to me about that. What kind of kits do you know of?
That's the classic beanie tools: screwdrivers, hammers, things like that, wire cutters, all sorts of stuff. I mean, they're not. When I say they're sophisticated, there's a lot of really sophisticated jewelry thieves out there, that break in after hours to places and do techniques like that. Some of these guys are like that. A lot of them are not. They just, again, they're opportunists. They can break a window, they can break a door, and get in.
Do they typically carry backpacks?
Many of the ones I've worked with and worked on, I should say, have bags and tools. Yes.
How often does a member of SATG or its ilk actually injure someone in the home, or worse, kill them, or after that remove the person or the body?
I can't really speak to that. I mean, there was one several years ago, an armed home invasion. My best friend.
So, guys, I have an interesting point to make here, and I don't know if you guys agree or not. I could be wrong. But let me see, 'cause I can't pull my camera up because it's in the way. Do you think there's a possibility, and I could be wrong, I could just be overthinking this here. Do you think there's a possibility that this guy could be different from the other guy? So the guy on the left and the guy on the right, is this the same guy? Or is there a possibility that this guy could be a different guy? And I'm only asking that just simply because the eyes almost look, I mean, he's kind of doing a surprised look. It's tough to see the mustache in that picture from the left. I guess it is going to be the same picture coming from the video, so I guess I'm just overthinking it. But the only thing that raises question to me is, I guess the bite light is just completely in his mouth, so that's why I got a little thrown off. But on the picture in the right, I don't see the bite light anymore. So I take it at a certain moment in time, he completely just puts the bite light back in his mouth. But for me, I would have, I don't think I would have put the entire light in my mouth. I would have kept it where it was visible so I could just simply click the button to have the little bit of light that I need using that light. And I think he obviously used that light to mark his steps, see where he was going. Not mark his steps, but see where he was going so he didn't trip or fall, because it's pitch black out there at night. So that's my bad. I think I'm overthinking this one. But it almost looks like that could be a different guy at some point. But I think this is just frame by frame of the same video. But in the one on the right, to me, he appears to be more like a white guy. I don't really see Hispanic in that face. I don't know why. I feel like I've seen a guy that looks like that before. That's maybe why. But the guy on the left, to me, it's the same guy, so don't let me confuse you. He looked like he would be Hispanic. And I don't, it's not the light. I know the light from the Ring camera is obviously lighting up his face with the picture on the right. The eyebrows seem to be identical, I want to say. So, I mean, it is the same guy. But that bite light completely disappears at one point in time, which is kind of confusing when you look at the frame by frame. So I guess I just really distracted myself on that one. Anyway, I wanted to pull up the picture of Dominique. Let me continue with the video. I was trying to find a picture of the side view of the suspect, because there's a really good picture of the side view angle. But I think once they paused it, it was like really pixelated. So I guess it's not a really good picture anyway. Anyway,
but nothing recently. Again, they've evolved their tactics to try and minimize the crime that they're facing.
So they typically do not want to injure or harm or kill or steal a body. That's not what they do. But are there examples of that? What's that?
They try to avoid contact.
But do you know if in their background there are examples of them doing these things?
Nothing initially to me, stands out. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You mentioned to me last weekend that there is evidence of that. There is evidence of them killing and taking bodies before, but is that?
Not taking the body, but there was one where it was a violent break-in, an armed home invasion. That was years ago. That was like a crew out of Detroit, I believe.
Are the SATG members typically armed?
Some are. Again, what do you consider armed? Someone coming at me with a hammer, I consider armed. So, those are whether they're carrying firearms. I can't say to all the groups. Again, there's no, one particular set, right? Some of these groups have more violent members.
I don't see the resemblance in this picture here.
And they might have different tactics and techniques that they use.
And what's the proliferation like of SATG across the country?
It's fairly extensive.
Why are we watching this?
Everywhere from East Coast to West Coast. Kind of travels up into the Northwest. It's pervasive, and they travel.
No states are immune.
Just because they're live in one place doesn't mean they don't go to another state to do it. And that's where the federal nexus comes in. Right?
Do they leave a kind of calling card behind? Is it obvious when you see these SATG operations?
No, that's more of a investigative steps that we end up doing. The investigation portion, which I really don't want to get into, how we find out who they are. But that's how we end up finding them.
In Arizona, they have done things in Arizona.
It might apply to the Nancy Guthrie case. Do you think that they've thought through a lot of the possibilities of SATG?
I mean, honestly, Ashley, I would hope so, right? Because they have to essentially game out every situation, right? Cartels, single one-offs, stalkers, all of it, they have to game out. So I would hope that this has come across their minds. I mean, SATG does exist in Arizona. They have done things in Arizona.
So I was talking about this. I couldn't find a picture of the side view of the actual suspect, but in this particular picture right here, I don't see Dominique matching up with. I just wanted to mention this real quick. I don't see Dominique in this picture here. I don't know why, but it doesn't seem like he's the guy to me in this picture. But someone made a very interesting point the other day pertaining to the lip. And I thought that's what really sold me on this. But again, like I said, I see a white guy in this particular picture, but this is what sold me with this picture. I'm going to zoom in as far as I can so you can see what I'm talking about here. I'm pretty sure y'all already know what I'm talking about. And the mustache is shaved at this point, if this is a recent picture. If that's a recent picture of Dominique. But specifically pertaining to the lip, I almost feel as though this is a match. Not only the eyebrows, but the eyes and the that gold tee surrounding the little piece of hair right under the bottom lip. So that's what really sold me on it. Let me flip my arrow around so you know what I'm talking about. So I don't know if you noticed right here at that top of the lip there. Once somebody pointed this out, I was sold on it. And we could very much so be wrong. We could be wrong. Trying to point it out here. It's hard to point with the mouse because it's so hard to see. But just looking at the lip, looks like it's a match to me. Wow. I could look at this all day. Just trying to figure out. And he looks like someone who could potentially just be the guy. Like, you know, I feel like he could just be a monster. Like I get a vibe of a guy who walks around on a normal day and looks like a really peaceful, well put together working man, you know. And behind the scenes, behind closed doors, there's this monster, you know. I don't know why I get that impression from Dominique. It's scary and it just it creeps me out. It creeps me out.
So it wouldn't, I don't want to say it wouldn't be a surprise because it would be, but I don't think it's that off base, right, for them to at least examine this particularly.
Anyway, I just thought I would share that real quick because yesterday I didn't get to point it out.
I think the biggest barrier to me thinking it might be a Saatchi operation is that it doesn't appear that anything was stolen except a person. And Saatchi is not in the business of taking people for ransom that I know of.
You're 100% right. So this group, they've done robberies in California, Pennsylvania, Arizona, really all over. And, you know, it's crime tourism, if you will. And so this group...
Yeah, from what I heard as well, he does have a tattoo on the wrist. I don't know if there's a picture. But we could look it up for sure. From what I heard, there was a picture, though. I don't know if they have an actual picture, though. I'm just looking it up real quick. Sorry to stop the video again. Maybe he doesn't, though. But that's what I heard. I heard that he did. And I think there is a picture of him and Tommaso sitting together at one point in time, although I'm not sure if that is a recent picture, because for all we know, he could have got a tattoo later on down the line. That tattoo could be a fresh new tattoo. It may not be a old tattoo. Not seeing a photo though.
Operates between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. Like they have a window that they operate, which is so interesting. And they're in small, kind of fluid teams. And they're not, I mean, a robbery is violent, right? But they're not violent in the sense that they are wounding people and taking people. Their whole goal is for unoccupied homes. That is why they spend so much time and effort on surveillance, very intricate surveillance. And so it just doesn't jive here with what happened, because this is essentially violent, right? You're taking someone is violent.
So Tom McAfee mentioned that they will also often operate in the middle of the night, which sounds a lot like the Nancy Guthrie case.
Yeah, listen, just because I said 4 to 10, that's just what probabilities,
Typical.
right? Like, so you're just looking at the whole of what they have done. It's not to say that there haven't been ones, but if they're operating in the middle of the night, it is because someone isn't.
Why is there a light shining in his eye if there's no porch light? I think the Ring camera has night vision. I don't think, and also I don't know if you've ever approached the Ring camera, but it'll flash. Some of them have flash. That light could have, came on also. But I think it's night vision. I don't think that there's an actual light. And I was trying to figure out also if it would be the right or the left wrist. I don't think this guy has any tattoos though. At least I'm not seeing any tattoos. We could pull that picture back up if you guys want to see it again. But yeah, they do have night vision. I don't know about the light portion of it though. I don't know where that light came from. I want to say night vision though. Yeah, and then you could that's another thing. You could also you could also tell with that double chin. You can also tell that there is a double chin, but then again, a lot of us think that he has on two different masks. I don't know if that would make it look like he has a double chin, although I don't think so. So that's what kind of changes things too. The fact that I don't see a double chin. But I don't know. I also don't know how recent his pictures are that he has online either, though. But it seems like he's fluctuated in weight in time. At one point he seems like he was very skinny. And then another point in time, he looks, in this picture we're looking at now, he looks like he's gained quite a bit of weight. But, just looking at him and Tommaso in this picture that they do have online, I'm not certain that the picture is recent. But as far as the tattoo, I believe they would be talking about the right arm. So if we're facing him, it would be the left arm where that arrow is at. And I think the only part of his wrist that we're seeing in the video, I believe, would only be the right part of his wrist. But if you're facing him, the left part of the wrist area, that's the only little part of skin I think that we see. And I think it's exposed in this particular picture. which would be in that general area of the wrist. So I'm not sure, though. I'm not sure, because I personally do not see a tattoo at all in that photo. So I don't even know how a lot of these guys are seeing the photo or seeing the tattoo. Yeah, I'm just looking at the wrist. I really never even really saw skin, to be honest, as far as the wrist. It's really, really close, though, to this guy. I mean, it's almost too close. It's so close, I would have had him detained and locked up right now without any proof. Maybe we need a screenshot. This is a good this would be a good like thumbnail. Let me screenshot that. If my computer will let me. No. Yeah, it's not letting me. I'll screenshot it another time. Anyway, I don't want to get too distracted on that anymore. I really think it's Dominique. I could look at this all day. It's just crazy to me how close that is, and I don't know if, I mean, considering it's been so close, I would only think they would tell us whether or not he's off as a potential suspect, but we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on at this point. So anyways, let me continue this video here.
That is really what their MO is. It's not that they haven't ever done that before. And there have been times where people have been home, and you know what? They actually tend to leave because they want to be able to go back, right? And they are taking advantage of that visa waiver program. And so they want to go back and sell those goods that they have on the black market. That is the whole point of why they're doing what they're doing.
And they don't like the elevated risk of going into an occupied home.
Correct. It brings it, you're 100% right.
All right, I think we're done with Ashley, though. I don't think Ashley's talking about anything else as far as Nancy here. I think she's going off on a whole lot of other topics that we really don't want to hear about right now. She's kind of confusing me. She's like kind of everywhere right now. But we do got time to look at this video, though. Yeah, I don't see a tattoo at any moment in time. Somebody said if I watch the video, I might see it, but I'm not seeing it. He says when he puts his hand to cover the camera, there's a slight space where people stopped it, and you seen the top of a tattoo. I'm not seeing a tattoo at all. Let me go back again. Not even a glimpse of it. I'm sure I would have saw that. That's right. Rhonda says, please hit that like button. Please do. If you're enjoying the stream, hit that like button. I think we're at, what, maybe like 31 likes, 74 people tune in. Big welcomes. If you're new to the channel, big welcomes, guys. I don't see at all no tattoo at any point in time. What are we seeing, folks? Is it at this very point? I'm not moving it until you let me know. It must be at this point in time where they see this. They saw a tattoo. I kind of see something. Let me know, chat. Is this the moment that they seen a tattoo right here? I see a little black little spot right there. Is that what they're maybe talking about? Yeah, I see a little black little area in there. And that would make it even harder for us to be able to tell if Dominique has a tattoo underneath the wrist. That might be the glove, the cuff of the glove. Am I looking at the wrong hand? That's it? I'm not seeing it. Definitely maybe not the glove. I think that might be the end of the glove. I mean, it's a possibility. I'm not really seeing a tattoo in that, though. I don't know, chat. That's a good as it's gonna get right there. So people are saying that they seen a tattoo in the video that we had of, the surveillance video we had in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. However, I'm not certain that I could really even confirm that's a tattoo or not. We also do. We're exactly what I was gonna say. Deanna read my mind, and we've all been led to believe that he's double gloved. I also think he's double clothing. Somebody made an interesting point on JLR's stream earlier, since I watch the stream often, since there's not really too many people live covering this thing either. But love watching his channel, by the way. They said that she may have been carried out in a bunny suit. Someone mentioned that, and I thought that was interesting. I was like, that sounds a little extreme. I don't know about that one. But it's possible. I mean, and it also could be something that he may have had in the bag. But, yeah. Does anybody have a picture of Dominique? Is for if he actually has a tattoo? Because I don't have any pictures of Dominique that I've found on the internet that shows he may have a tattoo on his wrist somewhere. in the picture that I have of Dominique, his hand is facing down where that tattoo would be, because that one's like directly under the wrist. So there's no way we're gonna see that at the angle that that picture is at. But there is a photo of him and Tommaso together. And in that photo, his hands are facing down. Let's see if I can pull that photo up real quick for y'all. So, and I believe this is Dominique. I could be wrong, or Dominic. I think I keep calling him Dominique, but I think it's Dominic. So this will be the photo of them two next to one another here. I'm not seeing it. And his wrist is down, so we're not going to be able to see a tattoo from there. I don't see any tattoos on this guy at all. He might not even have any tattoos. Deanna says he did an interview defending himself? No way. Carlos, unless you're confusing him with Carlos, Carlos was the one who did an interview defending himself, though. But Dominic, as far as I know, he hasn't done an interview yet. But anywho, that's the only photo I have of him. I haven't been able to find any other photos. Besides the one, there is one more with him and Tommaso standing together. Let me look at that one. They look like they're in a prison cell. But yeah, even that one doesn't. No. It doesn't show his entire hand. That's really a bummer. So we really can't even match this guy up the way we want to. Yeah, that's a bummer. They don't have another picture of him. Yeah, that's the problem with where we get facts, man. People make up stuff and then they run with it. But I think that's the cuff of the glove. I don't think that's a tattoo. Yeah, a hole or a crease in the glove. Yeah, it's a possibility. Definitely not a tattoo. It's all speculation, guys. People just give some really odd speculation sometimes, and people are led to really believe it. You know, they're like, "Oh, I think it is. I think it is." No, it's not. If you don't know for sure, it ain't that. Nah, I'm gonna have to disagree with the tattoo part. I'm not seeing it. I think some people are also suspecting that the other guy that we seen, there's another video of the guy with the backpack carrying another backpack. I know you know which video I'm talking about. They're still questioning whether or not that's the same guy or could it have been one of the guys at Nancy's home. It's very possible, but I'm gonna say no to that one. I think it's a completely different guy. I don't think that's the guy either. So. Yeah.
Turn. Hi guys, welcome back.
Yeah.
Sonora case reveal. You won't believe this. Day to end. You can't look away. First, the outrage. Kiki poses, smiling.
It's the wrong video. I had one more video I was gonna play, but I don't even see it up here.
For the rest of America, it's an unfolding mystery, one that grows more unsettling with every passing day.
You know, it's pretty hefty. It's got, power in it. And just, you saw me trying to go up that hill. And then I thought I was going to drop, but at least, and they were making her street, which is a typical, people can literally walk right up to as far as they.
Quiet there. Now, Aaliyah's going to stick around for the rest of the hour with us. But this brings us to the next question in our investigation. It's because of the nature of this neighborhood. And you saw when you enter what it looks like. Was Nancy Guthrie targeted? Was she specifically targeted, or could this possibly be someone who randomly chose her house? Still with us, Stuart Fillmore, Dr. Mike McCutcheon. All right, Stuart, get the first bite at this one.
So
we'll go back to that, Dominique. I just want to. I got to do a little research here. I'm not finding another photo though.
That she was targeted because I think what Elena just showed is a good.
That last video, you can see the radio in his pocket. Yeah, you could definitely see the radio. There's some sort of antenna coming out of something. Yeah, that for sure is confirmed for me. But as far as being able to, see a tattoo, that's out for me. There's no tattoo. TMZ, be careful with the information that you get from TMZ. I mean, even Harvey's shown that he's a big liar himself. He came out and said he wasn't going to do another. He wasn't going to publicize another email from whoever was telling him that he knew where Nancy was at, demanding that they needed $50,000 to give up Nancy's location and the suspect. That was bogus. We know that's not true. But like I said, the fact that Harvey lied and said he was no longer going to continue that, and then the very next day he came out and did that again. Just be careful where you get your information. TMZ is a well-known place that misinforms the public with news. I know a lot of us that get our information from TMZ, we all go confirm it somewhere else just to make sure. That's how we look at TMZ.
Example, it's amazing there. You have to know where you're going. It's dark when you leave, and clearly, he had the backpack, he had all the gear on, he was prepared. So here's the problem, though. There's not a legitimate ransom note out there. So if she.
Well, so you remember he was using the, and I'll let this one play for a second after this. He was using the FBI was using something called a barrier, I want to say, or something like that. Is it the barrier? I can't remember the name that they used, but that was supposed to detect phones in the area, and one of them led to, I think, the Amazon driver. It led to one of the drivers that were there at a specific time. But that didn't make sense to me because Amazon drivers they're not out at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. So that didn't make sense at all, even if it did. But the fact that they were able to use that and retrieve some type of data as far as what phones were in the area tells me that they were using walkie-talkies, because if it was able to detect phones used in the area at that moment in time, and we weren't able to determine, whether or not who it was, just anything. We weren't able to get anything. that tells me that they were using walkie-talkies. I think these guys were pretty smart. The fact that he made no mistakes let me know right away that this guy was sophisticated. He was smart. He came prepared. You know, he may have not looked the best of prepared, but they came prepared. They planned this well, to me. And again, like I said, you got to have a GPS to get out of that neighborhood. They weren't dumb enough to not use a GPS. And if they know that neighborhood well enough to get up out of there without using a GPS, then it's definitely, if not family related, someone that was involved with the family. You know, you really have to know that neighborhood, though. Not to say it's hard to use a GPS, because it's not. It's super easy, but just saying.
She's targeted, what's she targeted for? Unless there's some back channel ransom negotiations going on that we don't know about. That's what I mean, where it's a baffling situation.
Yeah, that's Dr. Mike McCutcheon. Like, that's the problem here, right? Like, targeted. Yeah. And I think Stewart got to the real point of all this. Targeted for what? Why?
Exactly, and I agree with him, because if it was a target, there's a reason that you're targeting that person. So whether it's for a ransom or for to get, we'll say, make a statement, but there's nobody saying I did this to make a statement because I'm against something, so no one's claiming it as a statement. Or you're doing it for you know, like I said, the ransom or anything. There's nothing. Like, it just disappeared. And I mean, to think morbidly, it could be maybe it was a ransom, and then she died while they had her, and then they abandoned it. But again, this sounds morbid, but there would still be money in the body recovery if you said, right, I'll tell you where she is.
And there is. There literally is $1 million right now from the family, yes, for information, leading to finding and bringing Nancy home, whether she's alive or has passed away. Dr. Mike McCutcheon, Stuart Fillmore, always great to have you on the show. We appreciate it so much. Thank you. Still to come, where should we be looking to find Nancy?
Wow, man, I did a poll, and the poll said, do you guys think there was, and most people don't read polls. I'm going to read them. I read them. Do you think there was force of entry through the back of Nancy Guthrie's home? And it's 50-50 right now out of 40 votes right now. 50% of the people think that there was force of entry, and 50% think that there wasn't any force of entry in the back of Nancy's home. Interesting. Wow.
Solved crime in the nation. Here's the story. Nancy Guthrie never misses church. That's why when she didn't arrive one Sunday morning, alarm bells rang. The 84-year-old Tucson resident had last been seen hours earlier at her Catalina Foothills home. By midday, family members discovered she was gone. Authorities soon declared the home a crime scene. Sheriff Chris Nano says investigators believe she was taken against her will. Blood confirmed to be Nancy's was found at the property. Surveillance later revealed a masked person outside overnight. Then came the chilling development. Ransom letters referencing personal details surfaced publicly. Then the FBI joined the search. But despite the attention and the national spotlight tied to her famous daughter, there is still no confirmed proof of life. And now, as the investigation begins to scale back, many wonder if Nancy will ever be found.
So remember, there was a locksmith that went to Nancy's home just the other day, and I haven't been able to confirm what they were doing. I'm assuming that they were changing the back locks. However, I know you may not care, but this is my take on the backdoor situation. As far as there being force of entry, I think there was no force of entry at all. I think it was one of two things. The door was accidentally left open and Nancy forgot to lock it. Or it was purposely left unlocked for this to happen. But there's a big possibility that Nancy just forgot to lock that door. And if there's 4 or 5, I think he said 6 ways besides the front door. If there's so many ways that you could get into her home, I think it's more likely that a door is left unlocked rather than there being force of entry. Also, upon observing the back door, because I've been following it for 31 days and that's been talked about a lot. And there were drones flown back there a lot. And I believe they did get footage at one point in time of the back door. I didn't see any force of entry whatsoever through that back door. But the door was left wide open. Also, after they showed the back door, after this all had happened, the door appeared to be fine. And I believe there was at least 2 sliding glass doors, if not 3. There was no force of entry from what I could see. Now, we know they didn't go through the garage, although, maybe there is a possible way to somehow trick a garage to, into opening somehow. But I don't see them going through the garage to force their way in. That sounds like that would also be too noisy. And I think they took her to the front door only simply because they were worried about being seen by neighbors. I think the front door was the best option, being that there was, the cameras were already dismantled. I don't recall Nancy having any cameras outside of the home in the front of the house, but she may have. In the beginning, from what I heard, I thought she only had cameras inside the home and one in the back, and they said that was probably for the wildlife. And then she also had a camera, that Ring camera at the front door, but I'm probably wrong. She probably had cameras outside of the home, facing the home. I did see new cameras go up, but I never saw any cameras around the home, especially in front of the home. And I think that would have been very difficult for them to dismantle had they been where those new cameras were just placed at her house. They would have had to have a ladder to get to those cameras if there were cameras outside of her home. But as far as I know, the cameras that she did have were the Ring camera and the ones inside of the home, which were found smashed. Chicky says, I think it was the sliding door of her bedroom. They say that was her favorite place. It's a patio enclosed. I don't know if you guys watched the interview with Luke and Mary. I'm pretty sure everyone's watched it. But I think a lot of us still feel like Luke might be one of our suspects too. I've kind of let go of the Luke thing. The interview helped me a little bit get over the hump. The interview did, but I still didn't believe it just because of their demeanor. There was really no emotion, especially with the mom, and then their stories were different. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but Luke and Mary's stories were not on point with one another. There were certain things that kind of met up a little bit, but for the most part, I feel like they had different stories. And they're 2 completely different people, it seems.
So there's a couple aspects to all of this, right? You want to find the man behind the mask, but you're really searching for someone who's missing. But we think we know who took Nancy, but we just don't have his identity. So you've got to search. And what are we looking for? We're looking for a body. We're looking for a person. We're looking for the person behind the mask. I want you to take a listen to this. This is Josh Gill from the United Cajun Navy. These are folks who show up or go to places where families are desperate to find someone who is missing, and they showed up in Tucson. Take a look.
I know that they're accepting volunteers now, and they just want to make sure that the volunteers aren't potentially contaminating a investigation or disrupting an investigation.
I want to bring back in the co-founder of Crime Scene Collective, Alina Smith, who spoke with Josh Gill from the United Cajun Navy. What can you tell us about what they're doing out there, and are they searching, and are they working with law enforcement?
Well, I was there last week, and Josh showed up. I think it was on Tuesday, and so typically what they do is they wait for the families or law enforcement to reach out to them asking for assistance in whatever case is current for whatever, in that moment. If a family needs help, they will reach out to the United Cajun Navy, or law enforcement will reach out to them saying they've exhausted all efforts and now they need help. There was a case, I believe his name was RJ Davis, the 12-year-old boy that was missing. It was United Cajun Navy that came in day 11, and I think within 2 hours, Josh himself found the 12-year-old boy that ran away or left his unfortunate circumstances at home. But it was law enforcement that reached out and asked for help. So at this point, they knew nobody reached out to United Cajun Navy. Josh flew out himself, and he walked up to the driveway and got the attention of the sheriff and said, "Hi, I've been trying to reach out to the law enforcement, to the sheriff's department, to Pima County, everybody, and I know that you guys are extremely busy, but we want to offer our assistance to help find Miss Nancy." And the sheriff deputy came out of the vehicle and said, "We are referring all anybody that is trying to reach us or assist," and they gave him like an HR number, and he said, "Thank you very much," and that was that. And then Josh and I, walked away and just talked privately. And then I spoke to Josh the following day, and he said he did make contact with the sheriff, and they did have a meeting, but he wanted to keep those details private. From my understanding, they are no longer there. I don't know what happened. He did not want to share that with me, but they are not assisting at this moment. But there are other people that are there helping with the search for Nancy. There's a group from Mexico. They're called the Madres. I have to look it up because it's Madres Buscadoras de Sonora, and it's a giant group that they have upwards of almost 2 million followers. They are very successful in their search efforts. They do recover people that are missing, both dead and alive, unfortunately. And they have a huge process in how they do this as well. So they were there. There's the video right there.
Yeah, they were there, but those are the ladies that got in trouble for digging. And why they were digging outside of the home, I have no idea. For whatever reason, the lady must have just thought that Nancy was buried right outside of her house. I don't know. Thanks to them for coming. I mean, they definitely deserve some credit for coming out here and trying to help out, but that was just stupid. Let's be honest, that was dumb.
So these two women, they're both missing. One is missing her son for, I think, 4 years, and the other lady is missing her brother for 7 years. Everybody that is a part of this organization has somebody that is very dear to them and is missing, and it's a group of all these mothers, and they just go out and they do these searches, and they're funded by donations, primarily in Mexico. So what they do is they use this long, it's a metal, like a prong stick, but it's metal. And the first thing they do is they kind of look for, they know the ground that they're looking for, and they poke around. The first thing they do, see how she's doing it, is they put it in 1 foot into the ground. And they know what they're feeling with, because I spoke to them. I had a translator there that worked with me every day, and we worked together. They had reporters following them around, and I got every detail on what they do. So first it's 1 foot, and they know what they're feeling in their arms. They've been doing this for years. In their elbows, they've described it. And if they feel what they're looking for, then the next step is 3 feet, and they go 3 feet deep, and they kind of turn this thing.
That makes sense.
They do 3 feet deep, and then when they feel what they're looking for, they pull it out, and the other woman, not the one that's pushing this prong in, the other woman comes over because she's got the nose for it, and she smells the end of it.
Oh, wow.
And when she smells whatever smell she's looking for, and she knows what the smell is, it's obviously going to be decay and, you know, all of those smells that go with decomposition. And then she smells the end of it.
Wait,
What? That's
what?
pushing this prong in. The other woman comes over because she's got the nose for it, and she smells the end of it.
Oh, wow.
And when she smells whatever smell she's looking for, and she knows what the smell is, it's obviously going to be decay and, you know, all of those smells that go with decomposition. And then she smells the end of it, and then they'll say, oh, okay, and they start speaking in Spanish, and they say, yes, this is positive or negative. And if it's positive, because I was there when they thought they smelled something. And then the next step is they have this cup, and then they dig that same ground, and they take this, like, it's like a little sifting thing, and then they take that dirt and they kind of sift it.
Wow.
And, you know, they're obviously looking for something.
It's
and
amazing.
and
they come all the way from Mexico.
Yeah.
All right, Alina,
Yes.
stand by. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. It's about the search. Where should we be looking to find Nancy?
Wow.
Joining us, true crime podcaster from Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Tony Bruschi's with us, and private investigator, host of the Delphi Dirt podcast, Erica Morse. Make sure you check that out. All right, Tony, what do you think? Where should we be looking to find Nancy at this point?
So I wanted to show y'all this picture real quick before we listen to this guy. It's probably my last part of this video before I hop off, but I thought this was pretty interesting. Check out this picture for a second. What do you think about just the stance, you know, the body language that we're seeing between Dominique and the suspect that we saw on surveillance in front of Nancy's? Isn't that pretty close? Even the stance is similar. Where do the arms stop for you? Do you feel like the arms stop at the same place? Does it look like the arms are the same length? This is the clearest picture I could have found, by the way, guys. I know it's not a very clear picture, but yeah.
Well, I mean, they've searched close to the house now for a month. The FBI's come 7 miles of Campbell Avenue, thermal drones, dogs, pacemaker, signal detection, and still nothing. So the next logical step is tracking outward. A vehicle almost certainly was involved. Ring footage from that morning showed a dozen cars passing through the area. In theory, you identify the vehicle, then connect the dots, track it through traffic cameras, security footage, see how far it went out, whether it stopped anywhere. That stop could be everything, but here's the problem. We don't even have a vehicle yet, and without it, we're just guessing at geography. You're trying to connect dots from thousands of cameras to a vehicle that looks like thousands of others, and you don't even know which one you're looking for. That's where this investigation, unfortunately, seems to be stuck right now, at least from our perspective outwardly. It's not just about where to search, it's what we don't have, the basic information right now needed to know where to start. Until there's a vehicle ID, a witness, forensic evidence that points in some direction, we're kind of nowhere.
Wow. You know, a lot of people are saying this is reminding them of Delphi, Erica, unfortunately, and we know how long it took there for things to develop, right? So where do you think, where should we be looking to find Nancy?
Well, first of all, yes, I understand they say they've searched a 7-mile radius, but I want to make sure they've searched every inch of that 7-mile radius. You know, there's 100 to 250 mines and bunkers in that area. Have they cleared every single one of those? Have they cleared every well? Have they, you know, only 2% of households in that area have basements. So I want to make sure that they've looked in every single fallout shelter. Have they checked every private access road, every brush area up to 6 feet off that roadside? Because right now, first of all, yes, this completely reminds me of Delphi. Don't even get me started on that.
No, I won't. I won't.
And second, I don't like the fact that people like United Cajun Navy, who has over 20 years of experience recovering people, both missing and alive, are being told to stay out of this investigation. And you know how I feel about families. Families make the best investigators, Vinny. So when we have a group of mothers that have found over 5,000 people, whether deceased or alive, have over 2 million followers, and they're so close to the border, and they're also being told, let the professionals handle it. Well, I'm getting...
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I get it. They've been doing this for a while. They're some sort of type of professionals. I get that part. However, here's the thing for me that I find super weird. Brian Enton just went to Mexico, right? To try to find answers, to try to figure out if anyone knows anything as far as Nancy being brought from Tucson to Mexico, whether or not she was brought across the border. Couple days later, and even before that, I believe these ladies had stopped through, maybe not. I think it was a little bit before that, but afterwards, this is, they participated in a search. How is it so that we got ladies coming from Mexico to do this search to help out here, but they have no idea as far as finding any type of sort of answer to figure out whether or not Nancy's been brought to Mexico or not? I don't understand. Then we capture a guy that is the leader of the cartel, and Mexico goes crazy after that, obviously. Why is it so we can't get any answers, being that we captured the leader from, the cartel? He was killed. And I don't know that, that they were able to prevent that from happening, to ask any questions. But I'm just saying. To
the point where the professionals are offering help and being turned away, and the ones that call themselves professionals just because they're sworn peace officers, need to be questioned a little bit further. I'm not buying this story anymore.
All right, we've got a lot more to get to. Coming up next, what would have happened if no one covered this story?
All I've seen was just reporters and the sheriff's cars out here, and I just thought it was really important to bring some flowers out here for the family, and they can see the support that the city is with them.
This is the story of the Richins. Eric, a father of 3, met an untimely end, and Corey, his widow, wrote a children's book on grief.
She's also charged now with his murder. He was
TV.
Wow, somebody went and sang.
Beautiful moment in front of Nancy Guthrie's home, someone singing and paying tribute to Nancy Guthrie, missing 84-year-old who was abducted from her own house, taken out of her bed. That's one of the scenes. There's a lot of things.
But the thing is, for me, is no one's going to go to Mexico. No one in Mexico is going to tell on themselves on live television. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I think that considering we have people coming from Mexico, we could dig a little bit deeper. I would only think we could dive a little bit deeper if we got people coming into Tucson to help us out from Mexico. I would only think that they would be able to dig a little deeper than we can, being that they're from there and they're associated with a lot more people than we are in Mexico. Hell, half of us haven't even ever been to Mexico. So, I mean, I would only think those ladies could ask questions and get away with it. I'm sure a lot of people in Mexico respect what they do and are fully aware of what they do. But
it's happening in front of the house, but there are also neighbors, and some of the neighbors not too happy with people showing up in their neighborhood. I want you to take a listen to this recording made by Alina Smith. Take a listen.
What are you doing? We're not on private property.
Dice que están. Dice que están en la propiedad privada, dicen ellos. Vamos a salirnos, Robert. Dice que le van a hablar al departamento. I told them they're coming out.
Are you filming something on my property?
Get off my.
I'm not on private property.
Hey! Get off my property. Okay. Down.
You
Wow.
are filming private property.
Get out. It's my property. Get out.
I'm not on private property.
That is my property.
This,
Get the fuck out.
this is a road. Who is that? I don't know. Who are you filming? I'm right
Where is
here.
your camera? Is it on that private property?
Maybe it's on the sky.
It is. It needs to be out of here and off of this property right now. This is private property.
This is not.
Your camera is filming me right now. You do not have my permission to film me or my property or my neighbors.
You're non-camera. You're non-camera.
Graham, for real, do you think we didn't look here?
I'm not looking in there.
Can you just leave?
Please, you guys, this is horrible.
We know it's horrible.
You don't even know. Please, go away. You think we haven't looked?
So with us,
Why does
co-founder
that
of
sound
Privacy
like?
Collective.
What? Don't tell me that was the lady that we saw on JLR's stream the other day that came by and said something and then drove away randomly out of nowhere.
We're not on private property.
Dice que están. Dice que están en la propiedad privada, dicen ellos. Vamos a salirnos, Robert. Dice que le van a hablar al departamento. I told them they're coming out.
Are you filming something on my property? Get off my I'm not on private property.
Hey! Get off my property. Okay. Down.
You are filming private property.
Get out. It's my property. Get out.
I'm not on private property.
That is my property.
This,
Get the fuck out.
this is a road.
Who is that?
I don't know.
Who are you filming?
I'm
Where
right
is
here.
your camera? Is it on that private property?
Maybe it's on the sky.
It is. It needs to be out of here and off of this property right now. This is private property.
This is not.
Your camera is filming me right now. You do not have my permission to film me or my property or my neighbors.
You're non-camera.
Well, it almost seems like that might have been that lady that came by the other day. JLR was talking to a drunk guy the other day that was saying he knew where Nancy was at. I don't know if that was her or not, but I noticed in the video she had pulled up down the street, down the road for a little second before actually like approaching JR and asking him a question. I don't know. I thought that was a little weird. But here's the
Call the
video.
police if he was driving. 100%. Very good.
So you see the lady, I don't know if she's trying to talk
Dude, he
to
just threw some
somebody
guy,
or something like
He just
that.
threw some guy, Walter Nash, under the bus on national TV right now.
I don't even know what that lady's doing at all. I really don't. So here she comes in the van. She starts to ask JLR
He just threw this guy,
something.
Walter Nash, under the bus. Hey.
Sounds like her.
What news service?
Hey, JLR Investigates. I am JLR Investigates. I'm a
But
media.
I
yeah.
could be wrong.
Oh, I've seen you.
You see me. How are you?
I'm fine, except I just have a little problem with some of the.
I don't know if it was the guy on the right or the guy that's approaching in the far back that startled her or something. I don't know. She just drives off.
What was that? What in the heck was going on? She goes. I am JLR Investigates. I'm a media. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen you.
You see me. How are you?
I'm fine, except I just have a little problem with some of the.
What was that?
So obviously,
what in the heck was going on? She goes.
Yeah, we're all filming.
Obviously something was bothering her because she did mention that she had a problem and then never stated what the problem was that she had. But I found that really interesting. It sounded like the lady that was yelling right now in the background that they just played on the other video there. That was interesting, though. I thought that was weird. Super, super weird. There's a lot going on in front of Nancy's home, that's for sure. I'm starting to think Nancy doesn't live in the best neighborhood. Now, most of the neighbors have been very respectful. They've been nice. They've been nice enough to let a lot of the media guys, or some of the media guys, park in front of their house. So, I mean, for the most part, they've been okay. But I think due to a lot of complaints, I think that's also another reason why Nanos decided to make it a one-way. But I also think that had a lot to do with the request of the family. I think they wanted to come to that house and visit the memorial site and just be at the home, you know, where they grew up. You know, home is always home. So, you know, and I think that was part of his reason for making all those things happen. Obviously, there's really no real way to give Savannah and the rest of her family privacy without doing what they did, which was make it a one-way. And then on top of that, they also, you know, said that they would fine $250 if you're parked on Nancy's road, even though I don't know if legally they can really do that, because that road is a two-way street regardless. So how long can... Like, I just don't get that. How can a sheriff change the street rules? Just, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I don't even want to get too distracted on that, but it makes no sense.
You're not okay.
Graham, for real, do you think we didn't look here?
I'm not looking in there.
Can you just leave? Please, you guys, this is horrible.
We know it's horrible.
You don't even know. Please, go away. You think we haven't looked?
Still with us, co-founder of Crime
Oh,
Scene
that was
Collective,
Mark?
Elena Smith.
I've seen
Give
Mark
us a
late night a
little
lot.
Taste. We have like a minute or so here. A little taste for the reaction of the neighbors you came across to members of the media being there.
Yeah, I mean, you saw right there. That was really the worst of it. But they would ride by on bikes and walk by, and they would call us names like parasites, leave, go home, we don't want you here, stuff like that. They would just shout at us, and you know, and honestly, after Thursday, Friday of last week, a lot of everybody did go home because they closed the streets down, and if you want to get into the neighborhood, you have to take an Uber. You can't be over there anymore. And honestly, for me, I kind of felt like, okay, so everybody left now, and to me, I kind of feel, I wonder if the neighborhood now feels a sense of, no, you know, like, now what? We don't feel safe anymore, because for me, I felt that they probably felt a little bit more safer with everybody there kind of looking over, and because there's no, the case isn't solved. It's like, you know, I don't remember his full name, the Mr. Stewart that you had on, he said this looks like a cold case, and now everybody's gone, and I wonder if now they're kind of feeling, oh great, now what? You know, we have to be a little bit more, you know, aware and pay attention, because we had people over here all night pulling night shifts and stuff like that, keeping an eye out, and everyone's gone now. Even the sheriff isn't sitting in the driveway
even
anymore.
the sheriff's not in the driveway anymore. Elena Smith, I want to thank
Yeah,
you so
they
much
did release the home back to the family, but yeah.
for sharing your experience and your video with us. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, and that brings us to the next question on investigation, right? Neighbors, get out, get off my lawn, get out of my neighborhood. What would have happened if no one covered this story? No one ever went to the neighborhood. No one ever talked about it. Still with us, Tony Bruschi and Erica Marsh. Erica, what are your thoughts here? What would have happened, like, if no one covered the story? Obviously, it was covered, Savannah Guthrie, but what if no one covered it? What if it was like on September 12th, 2001? What would happen here if no one covered the story?
Well, what would happen to Nancy Guthrie in terms of searching and getting assistance and resources is what would happen to the other 1,092 missing people out of Arizona. You know, 573 of them, which are Hispanic, who can't get any resources and TV coverage. The 94 indigenous who can't get that TV coverage. But to answer, you know, your question in that regard, she would become a cold case very, very quickly, sadly. And, you know,
Somebody mentioned the family being the family having to declare her dead. I think that comes down to a judge's decision. I'm not 100% sure. Guys, we got 74 people plugged in right now, and we only have 44 likes. Don't forget to like the video if you're enjoying the stream, by the way. Subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. I'm new to crime. I'm new to pretty much everything right now. But when I originally started, I was doing gaming, but I decided to start fresh and start doing something different. But anyways, let me just play this through and I'll share my thoughts.
1,000 to 5,000 people disappear every single day, Vinny, in the United States. And every single family is fighting for coverage. And the amount of resources that are being...
Well, let me stop her there, actually, because I'm going to lose my thought. We talked about this already. The only reason why this is, first of all, it's a really odd case. And unfortunately, not every situation where a person goes missing is going to be odd enough to raise the nation's attention. Not only that, another thing that really got this thing spinning and really out there is the fact that Savannah is a famous person. So I think everyone understands the reasons behind why this is more out there than most of your missing people cases or missing piece. You know, when that occurs, this is a very different type of thing. Most of the time when people go missing, they go missing themselves. I think. I don't think a lot of times it's an abduction. I think people disappear and run away. I think a lot of times they take that upon themselves. But don't get me wrong, there are many other things that happen when people go missing too. It's not just people wandering off and going missing. You know, because there are a lot of people that have been abducted just like this as well. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of similar cases to this one as well. But this case, as big as it is, for the most part, because of Savannah. We're fully aware of that. So, I mean, we can get mad all we want, but it really is what it is. But it's also a very odd case as well. And it's just the way things happen in this case that make it all that more interesting. And I think the sheriff play a big part in that as well. So what can we do? What can we do? I mean, my heart goes out to those people who haven't got the attention that they deserve, you know, as far as finding missing people that were important in their life, or you have a missing friend or whomever it was that's important in your life that really didn't get any attention. It just kind of went in the books and that was it. My heart goes out to them because that's tough. And I can only imagine if my loved one went missing and no one helped me look for him and nothing happened. Like I'd be hysterical. I'd be hot. I'd be mad.
Being afforded to this case, I understand it's overwhelming for those neighbors.
But yeah, that's another thing I was gonna say. We gotta stay in tune. As the media, we gotta stay in tune. We gotta keep pushing. I did a poll, and you know the poll was, do you think this case will ever be solved? 60% of you answered yes, and you know, the other 40% answered no. I think a lot of us we think this person's gonna be found. But I gotta be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a cold case. I feel like it could go either way. And I'm as confident as I am, I almost think there's a really good chance this could go cold. But what gives me confidence is the fact that we have so many tips. Over 40,000 tips tells me there's no way in hell we're not going to be able to figure out who did this. And, you know, there's just no way. There's no way. It's 2026, first of all. With the technology that we have, there's just no way. No way. Absolutely not. I won't accept that. Nope. I will not accept that. We're going to do one thing and one thing only. Find this guy. And finding this guy is going to do what? Lead us to where Nancy's at. Period. We are going to find Nancy. Nancy's going to get brought home dead or alive. I believe that.
I get it. I've worked cases where satellite trucks have sat parked on the front lawn for 6 months. It's frustrating, it's annoying, it's invasive. But those neighbors would also want that same type of focus and attention on their loved ones if they were in that situation. So we just have to remember, you know, you said it the other day.
Yeah, Rhonda,
in one of your social media groups.
Sorry to stop the video again, but yeah, Rhonda, I did my research. It's about 5 to 7 years for someone to be declared dead, and they have to have pretty much be exhausted of everything. You know, they have to have tried everything, and that's going to come down to a judge declaring that person dead. But they have a long way to go before they can actually declare Nancy dead. But I think that falls back amongst the family and the judge to declare this person dead. So, you know, we'll see what happens and how that plays out. But, you know, obviously she's 84, so it might not take as much time. It just depends. It says it depends on the situation. But she could also be declared dead a lot sooner than 5 to 7 years, which I don't think it would take that long to declare her dead. I mean, she's 84. Not many of us in time now live past 100 years old. You know, I work in a long-term, short-term care facility, and most of the people don't even make it to see 90 years old. So, and we all know women mostly live longer than men do. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but not that that matters, but it does say something because it goes to show that Nancy still had a lot of life left, no matter how old she was. And for all we know, she could have lived to be 120 years old. You know, but it's just a tough situation, man. This is just tough. That's Grandma Nancy now. I've adopted her.
You know, you said it the other day in one of your social media groups where you had said, is this case going cold? Is the true crime community going to be left to solve it? And sadly, I think we are. I really do.
Shout out East Tennessee, by the way. Big welcomes, Misty.
Story, like for instance, like the video of the abductor. No one would know what we're looking for.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. And I think there's two sides to this, too. I mean, first of all, if Nancy Guthrie were not Nancy Guthrie, she would be one of roughly 600,000 people reported missing in America every single year. And most of those cases, they don't get the FBI involvement. They don't get the $1 million reward or thermal drones. They get a detective with 40 other cases on their desk. So the coverage certainly has brought resources. No question the FBI is involved. Over 22,000 tips have come in. The reward exists because Savannah has a platform. But the coverage, has it helped find her? We don't have evidence of that yet. And there's a harder question here, too. Could it have driven the suspect further underground? We don't know, but it's possible.
Wow,
if
what a
guy
good
is
question.
Watching the news,
What a
and
good
he probably
question.
is. You know.
Oh, this guy's very much so watching the news, no doubt about it. And it definitely drove him somehow, some way. We don't know what it did, but we definitely know for certain this guy's watching the news. And I think the media has not only scared this guy, but also helped this guy. And I think that's the important reason why the FBI is not able to give us so much information, because in today's time, you know, you're able to watch it live. Like, you know, a lot of us were watching JLR and several other people go live, you know, Dad's Gone Live streaming at night, you know, and then we had Mark. We had several people streaming this thing, and you know, it's just not like it is today. You know, who doesn't want to go see a live feed instead of sitting here waiting for a segment? You know, it's just 10 times better than what it was. But that does hurt. That could potentially hurt the investigation as well. We know we're taking risk by recording and giving out a lot of information that we're giving out, you know, because it's only helping the person who's paying attention to what's going on. So I think that's the reason why FBI, one of the reasons why FBI has to stay so quiet You know, so I don't know. There's various reasons why they do, but I think that would be one of the reasons why they got to remain, you know, confidential with the things that they learn about the suspect that we have at that front door, and many other that may be accomplices in this particular situation. So. Tori says, yeah, so yeah, I've been asking that question myself the whole time. What question, though? Tori says, I feel like I have wishful thinking, but I feel a break in the case is coming sometime in the near future. I'm probably just being hopeful. Yeah. I'm not going to get my hopes up this time, Tori, because every time that we feel like we have a break in the case, it's just we get set back to right where we were originally at. Every time we feel like we're on to something, we're not. You know, this guy has, I'm not going to lie, this guy is winning. And I keep saying this guy is winning. He's winning. You know, he's proven to show he's outsmarted these guys from day one so far. You know, they not to say they haven't got, you know, they haven't been pulling strings, but he's definitely been winning. I mean, we're not. We haven't felt, even as a community, that we're really close to catching this guy. With all the information that we do have, I still feel like we keep falling short. And you would think, with all the evidence that we've developed over this time, it would be really good evidence leading up to us finding the actual suspect who did this, but we're still at square one. We're still at square one. But just take a look at this picture. This isn't even all the pictures. Just think about all the moments in this particular investigation that we've had. All of these moments that we either would have helped us figure out who these guys were, or we thought we had our guy, or this was leading toward us getting our guy. We'll take the glove, for instance. Dead end. Nothing. The Range Rover, for instance. Nothing. We thought we had something there. Even the suspect in the video. We're pointing out all of the little things with the suspect in the video and still hasn't amounted to anything. We've detained multiple people. Still yet to find those guys or really figure it out whether or not they're even suspects. And the crazy part is, I don't even know what led up to a lot of these guys being detained. It's crazy. It's just crazy. So I'm not going to get my hopes up anymore, because every time we do have our hopes up and we think really something's going to happen with this case, it doesn't. There's been so many times where it led up to us thinking something was going to happen, and then we're sitting here on a dry day waiting for the next thing to pop off. It's sad.
Knows every move being made. He knows about the drones, the pacemaker tracking, the tip line. So if we flip it around, would less coverage have made him sloppy, more likely to make stupid mistakes in public because he thought no one was looking? Maybe. But again, that is speculation too. What we do know, the coverage has kept the case alive in the media's eye, but it hasn't stopped this from edging into that cold territory. 31 days in, no arrest, no suspect identified, no Nancy. The case shows us that pressure doesn't always equal progress.
Yeah. Pressure.
Rhonda says authorities are not telling us everything they know. Yes, I agree with that to a certain extent. But see, here's the thing, Rhonda. The thing is, we've went to every place that we thought we had a suspect. I said this earlier. If we've gone to every place or detained or pulled somebody over or raided their home, if you think they may have something. I get it. They may know something that they're not telling us. But the biggest question is, do they actually have a suspect? And if they did, he would have been hit like every other person that was potentially a suspect, or we thought may have been a suspect. Every person that we had that was a person of interest was either, well, let's just sum it up. They were somehow detained. So if they had any person of interest right now, I think we would have been at his door already. So that leads me to believe that one of the people that were detained may be their biggest person of interest, or they're just sitting there waiting for those DNA results to come back. I just think that's logical.
Is putting it mildly, right? When you talk about, everyone was talking about this story. Less are talking about it daily at this point, and the coverage has receded, but also the assets working the case has also receded at this point, Erica. What do you think it will take? Where do you think the lead comes from that uncovers and perhaps leads to an arrest or the location of Nancy at this point?
Well, this time last week, Vinny, we were talking about awaiting genetic genealogy results, and I want to know where those are, because I think everybody has a pretty good presumption at this point that whomever took her probably wasn't the person responsible for creating this situation. That we think that whomever this was probably a third party. So it really is identifying who took her
Somebody
in
just
order
said that in
to
the
then
chat.
unravel those connections, those relationships. But also, I haven't heard enough, as far as I'm concerned, about Celebrite extractions and tower dumps and GPS for that night. I understand that they have these vehicles and they haven't necessarily identified which of these 19 vehicles, if any, might be involved. Where's all of our technology? Where's all of these reports that we as investigators rely upon? Because I'm just not hearing enough of that when you have an entire sheriff's department and an FBI, with an RA assigned. I'm not seeing the technology that I normally expect to see.
Erica Morris, the Delphi Dirt podcast. Check it out. Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Tony, great to see you as well. I understand how neighbors and the public often hates the media. Par for the course, folks. We get it. I was covering Jerry Sandusky. They were abusing me. It's unreal, right? And I was covering a pedophile. But in the world of missing persons, it shocks me when people complain about the coverage. Just makes me think, if your child, your loved one, or your mother was missing, would you want the media to ignore it? I'm Vinny Politan.
Not at all. Not at all. We most certainly would want the media to push it as far as they can and do everything that they can to bring our loved ones home, or whomever it is in our family that's close to us missing, for certainty. No doubt about it. Guys, I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. I want to invite everyone to tune in with me tomorrow night around the same time. I normally go live 11 p.m. Pacific Mountain Time. I got to get off. Your boy got to work in the morning. Hey, tune in with me tomorrow night. We'll be live. We'll talk about this thing. Hopefully we got some exciting news to talk about. That is my time, my friends. It's your boy YouTube Juice. Tune in with me tomorrow. Y'all have a good night.